Dragon Ball. This Goku is terrifyingly strong. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 101, Teleportation. Boom. Boom boom boom. Ugh. What a brat. Piccolo was no longer able to form a fighting force when he kept dropping frames, but Gohan's sudden outburst still caught Carrick second off guard, and he started to use some methods. In fear, he actually grabbed Piccolo, who was offline, and threatened Gohan into submission point. As you can imagine, Gohan fell into the trap and was attacked one after another. Piccolo, who was looking at the pain, was stunned for a while and was wounded by Carrick second one after another. TSK. Goku clenched his fist slightly. This method is indeed tricky, but he would not let this happen, and Gohan's lack of experience was also revealed at this time point. There is no way to stay calm in this situation. This is his biggest problem. In the end, Carrick second saw that Gohan's power had been almost exhausted, and he thought he had a chance to win, so he dropped Piccolo and flew high into the sky. Point at the same time, a huge planet has arrived near the Earth. Evil star. Ha ha ha. Sun Wuhan. Piccolo, you will be swallowed up under my death zone. Feel the pain I have suffered. Death zone. Boom. ZHI. With the blessing of the evil star, Carrick second's combat power soared to a new level, and he summoned a terrifying air current that began to tear apart, once destroying the entire celestial temple. Point in desperation, Gohan gathered a protective shield and saved Piccolo, who had not yet recovered his fighting strength, and Krillin, who was exhausted. Gohan, don't worry about us. Attack the evil star quickly. The power of Carrick second comes from the evil star. As long as you destroy it, you can. Ugh. Another burst of lightning appeared from Piccolo's body. The body becomes a bit unreal. Piccolo. Krillin was shocked. Point at the same time, the gods on the other side were also suffering from the torture of the gods of the past generations. Below the celestial temple is a resting place of the souls of the gods of all ages. They will naturally be angry if they are disturbed. Point they even set up many obstacles to block the god's progress, but the god is the kind side of Piccolo. Even though he knew he might die inside, he still rushed towards the wind cave regardless of his own safety. Point the situation was critical, and Gohan's physical strength was approaching its limit at this time. Point the surrounding golden energy shield shone brightly, but was gradually torn and deformed. Hearing Piccolo's words, he gritted his teeth and said, "But, I can't do it." Boom. The golden light surged, and Gohan actually expanded the energy shield in a circle, resisting the erosion of Carrick second's death zone. Gohan, Piccolo and Krillin still wanted to persuade, but Gohan really couldn't be distracted at this time. His thinking was already messed up. Point despair. At this moment, a figure ignored the protective shield, fell aside, and raised his hand on his shoulder. Gohan, you can do it. Remember what I taught you? Believe in your own strength. Dad. Gohan was overjoyed, but then he subconsciously wanted Goku to take action, but he refused in advance. Point staring into Gohan's eyes, Goku's expression was very serious. Gohan, you can do it. The Saiyan blood in Gohan's body was gradually boiling at this moment. His nearly exhausted physical strength began to recover rapidly, and endless power began to pour out of his body. The terrifying ki surged to the limit, and Goku looked a little surprised when golden ki flames appeared on Gohan's body. Although his hair has not changed, Goku can clearly sense that this is the mimic Super Saiyan transformation. The energy shield expanded directly to the limit, instantly backlashing Carrick second's death zone, and turned into a blast of terrifying energy. What? Impossible. In the end, Carrick second and the evil star were directly annihilated and dissipated by Gohan's blow. Point Gohan also fell into a coma due to exhaustion of energy. He was caught by Goku, hugged him, patted Gohan on the back, smiled and said, "Well done, Gohan." Gohan was very weak at this time, but he still showed a reassuring smile and fell asleep. Point after this battle, his potential will be better unleashed, and even his combat power will soar to 1 million. What surprised Goku even more was that he actually directly achieved the transformation of the mimic Super Saiyan. Point this means that in addition to combat power, Gohan has actually met the other two conditions for transformation. He doesn't even need to go to the trouble of Goku. As long as his combat power reaches the minimum standard, he can directly transform into a Super Saiyan with a little guidance. This is undoubtedly a huge improvement point. After that, the gods also successfully passed the test of the gods of the past generations. In fact, whether it passes or not, Goku feels that these old guys are somewhat aware of current affairs. If they are really killed by the gods, they will not be able to stay well in this temple. Goku will just send them to the underworld. To be honest, really accepted the transformation point. After finding 4 Dragon Balls from the ruins of the Celestial Temple, Goku took Gohan and prepared to leave the Celestial Temple. That's right. Before leaving, Goku looked back at Piccolo and said with a smile, "Piccolo, don't hang around Baozi Mountain all the time. I will take time to teach Gohan every day. If you have time, come over and join us. See you later." Whispering sound. Piccolo turned his head away in embarrassment, and Klin on the side turned to look at him, which made him even more unhappy. He was always near Baozi Mountain. Occasionally, Gohan and Quick Dragon would encounter him when they sneaked out to play. Piccolo pretended to be passing by every time, nodded coldly and walked away. Only Gohan believed this. Goku was also speechless. "I didn't say I wouldn't let you play with my son, so I simply made it clear." With Piccolo's current fighting ability, being directly a sparring partner for Gohan can also create some pressure. Just right. "Goku, wait for me." Klin then remembered to leave and hurriedly followed. The god walked to Piccolo and sighed. "It seems that returning to your hometown has changed you a lot. You are no longer the Piccolo de Mayo you once were. HMPH. Troublesome." Piccolo snorted coldly. The cloak on his body appeared out of thin air, and he flew down from the Celestial Temple. Bobo looked at the messy Celestial Temple, sweat dripping from his forehead. We seem to be busy." "That's right. If I had known earlier, I would have asked that guy Goku to stay and help, even taking away the Dragon Balls." Ugh. As the super divine water atomized and spread, all humans gradually returned to their original state. Goku found the remaining Dragon Balls on his way back, collected 7 of them, and returned to Bulma's house to summon the Dragon Point, but an uninvited guest appeared here at this time. HMPH. "Kakarot, are you going to use this power too?" Vegeta appeared here with his hands folded as usual, looking like he didn't deserve a beating. Goku didn't bother to offend him, and looked at Shenron making a wish. The wish he made was very simple. To move instantly. If he hadn't suddenly remembered it before, he had forgotten this exclusive bug skill of his. If he hadn't accidentally gone to the Yardra planet due to the explosion of Namek, he would naturally have no chance to learn it. He was too lazy to make a special trip, so he had to get it this way. In fact, there is another way for him to obtain similar skills, and that is to go directly to the Star of Adra to refresh them. He had this idea since he knew that the system could randomly reveal the target's skills. It's just that this chance is a bit random, and teleportation is too important. It's better to let Shenlong give it directly. It would be good for him to take the time to go to Yadatra to brush up on other skills. Chapter 102 Pseudo Super Saiyan. After Goku made his wish, the 7 Dragon Balls were instantly wrapped in golden light and flew into the sky, then scattered and flew to all parts of the world. Only one of the 4 planets was captured and retained by Goku with his telekinesis, raising his hand to signal vigilance to Gohan. Goku then looked at Vegeta and said calmly, "Vegeta, are you here to find the universe spaceship?" HMPH. Vegeta was guessed and didn't care. Then he suddenly stretched out a hand, turned slightly sideways, and said in an arrogant manner, "I not only want the universe spaceship, I also want to defeat you, Kakarot. Special, I want to prove that I'm the strongest Super Saiyan." Goku's eyes lit up. Vegeta's energy has indeed improved, and it sounds like he can become a Super Saiyan. This is interesting. "What are you talking about?" Bulma was a little confused, waved his hand, and said with disdain, "How can a guy like you succeed in transforming? Goku can only become a Super Saiyan if he is a good person. You don't have to be a good person, but if you want to accumulate S cells, you must learn to calm down. Having been wandering around the universe all year round, adhering to the traditional Saiyan concept that does not even include the so-called marriage relationship, Vegeta can calm down and see a ghost. Back then, Bardock and Janae were already considered special cases, an extremely rare couple among the Saiyan tribe. It's not that the relationship between Saiyans is so chaotic, but there is no such concept at all. There is no difference between men and women, only warriors and non-warriors, strong and weak, that's all. Rather than being a fighting race, it is better to say that it is a killing machine born purely for fighting. This is due to Frieza's many years of management. Of course, it is also related to the stubborn rule of King Vegeta's family for many years. HMPH. Drink. Vegeta was stimulated and immediately stopped talking. His arms sank, his muscles swelled a bit, and he roared suddenly with a terrifying anger that shook the entire western capital, as if there was an earthquake. Whoosh. Goku's face changed slightly, and he immediately came to Vegeta and took him away with teleportation. Dad, Goku, this scene shocked Bulma and others, but she quickly calmed down and said, "Don't worry, it will be okay. Goku is very strong." Well, she was still a little worried, but she could only pray secretly. At the same time, Goku brought Vegeta directly back to the demon realm. Not surprisingly, he saw Mora here. After Vegeta successfully transformed, he was indeed a Super Saiyan, but it gave Goku a very strange feeling. But I can't tell what's wrong. Drink. Kakarot. As a result, without saying a word, Vegeta blasted Goku with a flash cannon. The terrifying power indeed reached the Super Saiyan level, and directly reached the 175 million level. Goku only needs to use 2x Kaioken, which is enough to deal with it. His current combat power is as high as 81.5 million. Even if it is only 2 times Kaioken, it is as high as 163 million. There is not much difference from Vegeta's Super Saiyan form, and he can definitely fight. Boom. A Kigen cannon blasted away the flash cannon. Goku rushed towards Vegeta. Since he didn't know what the problem was, he would just fight it. He didn't rely on the Super Saiyan form to crush him. He just wanted to see Vegeta of reality. Bang. Bang bang bang. During the fierce fight, the violent aftermath caused the entire Shura to roar. After a fierce fight, Goku quickly discovered something was wrong. His physical strength was very sufficient, and it could only be regarded as a warm-up. On the other hand, Vegeta at this time is surrounded by lightning, has blonde hair and blue eyes, and his Super Saiyan energy is constantly radiating around. He looks quite intimidating and has an amazing momentum. But his forehead was already covered with sweat, his breathing was messed up, and he looked out of breath. At this time, Goku felt that he didn't even need the 2x Kaioken. If it took a while, Vegeta might just lose his fighting ability. Ha ha. Vegeta also realized something was wrong at this time, but he still held on and refused to fall, relying solely on his willpower to support himself. Goku frowned. Sure enough, this kind of thing still has some flaws. Mora flew into the air and appeared next to Goku. She bowed slightly and said, "I'm sorry, it was my fault for not being able to make you happy. Please forgive me." Goku glanced at Mora, his face expressionless. "What did you use on him?" "It's just a small experimental product. I originally thought it could be used to replace the S cells that adults are talking about. It seems that I underestimated the power of Saiyans." Seemingly realizing that there was something wrong with his words, Mora continued to explain, "Your power has exceeded the scope of my ability to study." "Really?" Goku glanced at Mora meaningfully. It was quite scary to be able to research something that could temporarily replace S cells. Moreover, in such a short period of time, if she was allowed to continue researching, maybe she could really develop something like this. Real point. Although S cells only determine the difficulty of Saiyan transformation and cannot determine strength, they are still important. "What are you talking about? You don't think I've been defeated like this, do you? Kakarot, you can transform me into a Super Saiyan. Why don't you transform into a Super Saiyan? Come on, you can do it. I will use all my strength to fight with me." Boom. Seeing that Goku ignored him, as if there was no one around, Vegeta suddenly became furious. The terrifying energy was vented crazily, as if he wanted no money, and the electric current around his body became even more dense. However, this flowing flow of gas is meaningless. Goku just took a look and found that Vegeta's combat power had miraculously improved, once soaring to nearly 200 million, but it only climbed to the top for a moment and then began to decline, and the arrogance around him gradually shrank until it dissipated point like a flame that has run out of gas. It goes out with a snap point. Even Vegeta's hair and eyes return to black, unable to maintain the Super Saiyan transformation. Goku shook his head, secretly thinking that was indeed the case. Ding. Defeat Super Saiyan Vegeta and get potential +5. Ding. Defeat Super Saiyan Vegeta and get potential value, gold, +1. Goku was shocked. Is it so many? Is it because Vegeta is an important character? No, the previously improved combat power and potential value all seem to be related to the target's own combat power and potential point. For example, Frieza directly gave him 2 points of golden potential, which is the most luxurious reward so far, followed by Vegeta today point. Even the magic cultivator's peak combat power is as high as 1.6 billion, but it only gives Goku 3 points of ordinary potential. That's why Vegeta was given so many rewards, because his potential was so amazing. A full 5 potential points, plus a little golden potential, enough to increase his strength by 6 times. Or even more. What's going on? Vegeta looked at his hands with a puzzled expression in anger, and then looked at Mora. What did you give me to use? This kind of power has no power at all. You're not a Super Saiyan, you. Well, the next moment, Mora just smiled, and Vegeta immediately lost consciousness and passed out, but did not fall directly from the air. Instead, a force of thought controlled it in midair and slowly floated over. This isn't Goku's telekinesis ability, it's Mora, who also has this superpower. After completing the research, give him a universe spaceship and let him go. Goku glanced at Mora meaningfully and was not prepared to stop her from continuing her research. If Vegeta can't figure it out now, he has no good way to make him stronger. After all, without Bulma, it is basically impossible for Vegeta to be bound to the earth, and he is eager to obtain the power of a Super Saiyan. Mora's research might be another good option. Yes, thank you sir. Mora lowered her head, a bright light flowing in her eyes. Chapter 103 Clean's girlfriend. After solving the case of Carelessness and Vegeta, the original trip of the Goku family was also ruined. She scolded Gohan for skipping class. Fortunately, the impact of Carelessness virus was too wide, so Gohan didn't have to go to cram school for the time being. In order to make up for Bulma's regret of not being able to travel, Goku could only take them to Kamisenia. I stopped by to visit Kame Sennin. Now the earth is in chaos due to a wave of zombies, but the seaside is a little cleaner. Wow, the warm sea breeze carries the waves, a flock of seabirds fly over in the sky, and the sun shines brightly. Turtle Fairy house is still the same. Nothing has changed, really. Bulma was wearing a shirt and jeans, which highlighted his perfect figure. He held his face with one hand and drank juice. He looked boredly at Gohan, who was playing in the sand with Speedy Dragon and turtles on the beach. That's it. Gohan will be happy. This rare trip is just gone, alas. Okay, Bulma, it's nice to come here to relax. Come and eat some fruit. She came over with a plate of cut fruits, and Bulma ate a piece. Well, that's true, but didn't I say that I could teach you the Wukan technique, so that you can walk around by yourself? But you didn't want to learn it. Goku said in a funny tone, and came over to push Bulma aside and sit aside. Well, Bulma sighed again and looked at Goku speechlessly. This idiot had already learned the dance technique long ago. What people want is not to travel alone. Hey. Bulma heard the sound and looked around. Needless to say, the only one here who could make such an obscene sound was Kame Sennin. Well, there was also Oolong. Yamcha has basically given up on spiritual practice recently, and he doesn't know where he went. Cheyenne rice and dumplings live in the mountains all year round and rarely see anyone, so they didn't come here. Clin, on the other hand, is somewhat ambitious. Perhaps he was stimulated. In the past few days, he even approached Kame Sennin and asked him to start practicing again. But, at this time, a beautiful blue-haired girl wearing a sexy one-piece swimsuit was applying sunscreen on a beach chair. This was Colin's girlfriend, Marin. Well, That's right, Krillin's girlfriend Point Turtle Immortal and Oolong were all wet on the ground at this time, feasting their eyes on it. Really, what kind of playing are these two guys doing? Bulma was speechless. After all, she was Klin's girlfriend. Although she was a little unhappy with this woman, what if she scared them away? She noticed another thing at this time and asked doubtfully, where is Gohan? Wasn't he playing with the quick dragon just now? Really, where did he go? Goku sensed it briefly and immediately discovered that Gohan was with Krillin at this time, seemingly diving into the deep sea, and he didn't know what he was doing. He didn't think too much. Bulma was very happy to just stay with him. While eating the fruit, he was thinking about Gohan's next training plan. Time passed little by little. After applying sunscreen, Meren started to act like a monster. He looked around, automatically ignored the eager turtles and Oolong, and ran into the turtle house. Point Turtle Immortal and Oolong, walking up to Goku, his eyes lit up, and the delicate clip said, can you help me apply sunscreen? I can't apply it on the back, miss. Please respect yourself. Goku is a family man. Shisha's eyelids jumped, and he walked aside, feeling like he wanted to hit someone. Bulma was leaning on Goku and almost fell asleep. When he saw this, he was very angry. He pointed at Meren and said displeasedly, that's it, and you are not Krillin's girlfriend? You are so sorry for doing this. Klin's right, huh? He seemed very surprised, and then Marlon suddenly covered his mouth, waved his hands and laughed. Really, it's annoying. What are you two aunts talking about? Hahaha, big, auntie. Okay, now Goku can feel the anger of Bulma and Shishi, and he feels very helpless. He usually spends a lot of time to accompany them, so although Bulma and Shishi occasionally have conflicts and even complain, they are actually very happy. Otherwise, how could it be possible that from the initial disagreement to all kinds of tit for tat, now we can get along harmoniously and basically stand on the same line? Who are you talking about? I'm only 25 years old. That's it. It's really too much. Hehe. Well, it can only be said that it is green tea. It is too lethal. Shishi and Bulma were very angry. In the end, they actually lost in terms of momentum. They gritted their teeth in anger and felt waves in their chests. Goku had a headache for a moment. He could only hope that Krillin would come back soon, but he couldn't let this woman take him away. Hi, honey, there was an episode in the middle, that is, all of Meren's boyfriends, licking dogs, came to the Turtle Fairy house and temporarily picked her up, which made her feel a lot cleaner. What? That flirtatious woman. I'm so angry. That's right, Goku, don't you think so? This made Bulma and Shishi very angry. Bulma was not as traditional as Shishi, but seeing Krillin being R*****D on the spot, he was very angry. Goku, why? Does it still have to do with me? It's not appropriate for me to say anything at the moment. At most, I can prepare more healthy ingredients for dinner and give my junior brother a hint. Men generally don't talk behind each other's backs, and their emotional expressions are relatively reserved. Of course, the heart is another matter. Regardless of whether Klin was deceived or not, the fact that he was able to bring Meren back to the Turtle Fairy house means that he must have had true feelings. They have probably been developing for a while. If he knew the truth, he would probably have to wait a long time. What a sin. It's not easy for Krillin either. He's different from Yamcha, the carefree young master, and Cheyenne Jinfan, the inexperienced lump. Clint is quite normal and hopes to find a beautiful and good woman to get married and have children with. When Goku got married, he had been envious of him for a long time, and he complained indignantly every time they met. It was good this time. He finally found a beautiful girlfriend. In order to please Meren and prove that he could bring happiness to him, Klin went on an adventure in the deep sea to find the big pearl, but it turned out that the other party was just playing. One can imagine how uncomfortable Klin was. Wow. Half an hour later, Krillin and Gohan flew back from the sea. When they learned that Meren went shopping with other boyfriends, they were stunned and then forced a smile and said, haha, I'll go out first. Don't think about it, you must go to Meren and ask for clarification. Men are like this. They won't give up until they see it with their own eyes, especially for a woman who is tempted. No matter what, if you continue to cut off, you will inevitably suffer from chaos in the evening. Clint came back by himself, wearing a pair of sunglasses to cover the tears in the corners of his eyes, and forced a smile to cover up the sadness in his heart. Clint, are you really okay? Ha ha ha, am I okay? What can happen to me? That woman Marin is too carefree, so I dumped her. Ha 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 ha. Well, this acting can only be said to make the sadness visible to the naked eye. It can be said that the listener is sad and the listener sheds tears. It's miserable. Goku also sighed and patted Krillin on the shoulder without saying anything. Come on, you will have a happy family where countless people can send blades in the future. Chapter 104 Mysterious Girl. Time flies, and some time has passed. 1 year after the freezer incident, the earth is calm. Goku has already sensed a storm of depression, but he is not very worried. Frieza will definitely come to him for revenge, but he cannot determine the specific time, so he can only wait quietly. It is worth mentioning that during this period, Vegeta came out of the Demon Realm Gate and then left the Earth. Goku guessed that he should be practicing alone or seeking revenge from Frieza's legion. After all, he couldn't give up after so many years of humiliation. In the deep space of the universe, pieces of meteorites float in the vacuum. Whoosh, a huge flying saucer-shaped universe spacecraft quickly shuttled between the universes, surrounded by huge energy. Even meteorites were shattered by a single blow, unable to form any hindrance. And inside the spaceship, it was Frieza who had been resurrected, and Frieza's father, the Kurdish King. Zhi. Bang, a bolt of scarlet lightning burst out from around his body. Frieza, who had most of his body replaced by mechanical repairs, stared coldly ahead, his tail tapping the floor behind him uneasily. Frieza's legion behind him remained silent, not daring to make a single sound. Next to Frieza, a tall figure sat upright, shaking the wine glass in his hand. The Kurdish King said, "Frieza, is that Saiyan really scary to you?" As a member of the Frozen Demon clan, the Kurdish King is actually far less powerful than his two sons and does not even have any final form of transformation. But he also possesses extremely terrifying strength, and not many people in the universe can provoke him. Frieza wants revenge on this trip, and he naturally supports it, even if he doesn't know who Frieza is going to deal with. Dad, I will definitely kill that Super Saiyan. Frieza glanced slightly sideways, with brutal killing intent in his eyes. Ha ha. The Kurdish King hesitated slightly when he saw this, without any worry or doubt, but sneered and said, "Of course, you are my son, so go ahead and do it, Big King Kurd." King Frieza just detected a huge energy approaching from the front. What? Is there such a thing? The Kurdish King hesitated, but Frieza's eyes darkened. Who dared to stop him? He was so impatient. At this thought, the anger in Frieza's heart was ignited. The universe spaceship gradually slowed down and stopped in the universe. Frieza and King Kurd flew out from the top of the universe spaceship and looked forward, preparing to clear the obstacles and continue towards the Earth. However, the result did not develop as Frieza expected. Boom. Frieza's universe ship was destroyed in the roar. A few days later, on the surface of a Death Star, Vegeta had just dealt with a wave of Frieza's minions and was about to leave. Suddenly, his footsteps stopped. And when he looked up, he saw a familiar universe spacecraft sailing towards the distance. That's it. A cold light appeared in his eyes, and excitement flashed through. That's right. This is Frieza. That guy isn't dead yet. That's great. Ha 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 ha. Letting out a crazy laugh, Vegeta directly found his own universe spaceship, chased Frieza's universe spaceship, and gradually approached the Earth. When the two universe spaceships approached the Earth one after another, the martial arts masters on the Earth felt something and looked into the universe. At Baozi Mountain, Goku, who was practicing with hundreds of times gravity, suddenly stopped. Gohan, who was receiving special training from Piccolo in the distance, also looked up at the sky. About half an hour later, on a Gobi desert, a gust of wind blew, and yellow sand rolled on the ground. A desolate scene, with a solemn atmosphere filling the air. Saiyan, Fan, Yamcha, Krillin and others arrived one after another, but found Goku and Piccolo already waiting here, as well as Gohan and Bulma. "Hi, everyone." Bulma waved. "Hello, Bulma, why are you here?" Krillin and others were speechless. "Isn't this too relaxing?" Are you here for vacation? Bulma didn't care at all. She just came to watch the fun and didn't mind it. While everyone was chatting, an hour passed quickly. A universe spacecraft gradually fell from the sky, but it seemed to have been attacked and fell from the clouds with thick smoke. Huh? What's going on? Did someone attack Frieza? A group of people were confused. Goku was thoughtful. He could sense something unusual. Piccolo also felt it, but neither of them said it out loud. They looked at each other and nodded, confirming their guesses. Boom. Frieza's spaceship made a hard landing on the earth and crashed directly, with thick smoke billowing, and various parts and fragments flying everywhere. A figure stood on the smoke-filled universe spacecraft. Because the distance was too far, everyone could only barely see that it was a strange figure they had never seen before. Who is that? Was he the one who attacked Frieza? Gilu, that's right. What a scary guy. Klin and others looked shocked. Goku was deep in thought. Although he was not close yet, he could sense a terrifying energy from the opponent, which belonged to Super Saiyan energy. He's waving his hand this way. Really? Your eyesight is too good, right? You can actually see so far. Bulma said, a little unhappy. Her strength is actually not weak, but she can only put one hand on her forehead at this time. I could barely see a figure, but it wasn't that clear after all. She is not a real martial artist. Although she had a combat power of 400, after returning from Namek, it has begun to decline. Goku wanted her to practice martial arts occasionally, but she refused, because she really had no talent, and she didn't have the patience or perseverance to practice martial arts from scratch. Really? Simply, Bulma walked up to Goku, patted him and said, let's go and take a look and find out. There will be no results here. That's right. Although he was a little afraid of the sudden appearance of the person, Yamcha still didn't want to lose face, so he had to go with him. However, at this moment, a green energy shot out from a distance, instantly blasting Yamcha away. Yamcha, boo, hoo-hoo. Krillin and others just turned their heads, and energy shot out one after another. Goku and Bulma were the only ones to avoid, and the others were forced back. Piccolo raised his hand to scatter the energy. After Gohan dodged one blow, he was chased wildly by several energy waves. He could only dodge hastily, and was a little embarrassed for a while. Whoosh. Goku's eyes narrowed, and he disappeared directly. He didn't understand where the other party was coming from, but he didn't feel any obvious hostility. The other party's actions were more like playing point, but this kind of gamma play is a bit too much. He has to let the other party calm down first. After getting closer, Goku noticed that the other person was wearing a smiling cat mask with emerald green hair. From the figure, he could tell that she was a girl with a tail behind her. She was indeed a Saiyan. There is also an unknown necklace-like device on his neck. Tail. Bulma was a little surprised. At this time, she was placed on a boulder on the other side by Goku, and she could already see some details. Bang. In a tentative attitude, Goku punched the opponent. However, the result was unexpected. A terrifying force instantly spread along his arm. Goku's pupils shrank, golden light suddenly appeared on his body, and he directly entered the Super Saiyan state. Boom. Frieza's universe spaceship below instantly fell apart. Layers of airwaves spread from between the two people, and the golden air continued to sweep across. However, seeing that the other party had not even a trace of explosive energy on his body, and he just injured it, Goku still showed a bit of surprise in his eyes. Who is this person? Through the eyes of the mask, you can vaguely detect a hint of joy, and a bit of cunning, but there is no hostility at all, but some kindness. Goku has some vague guesses, but he is not sure. First of all, the other party must be from the future, but he can't be completely sure of which era he comes from and his specific identity. The breath of the two people had spread far away at this time. Bulma slipped and fell from the boulder. Why? Goku looked shocked and decisively gave up, entangled with the mysterious man, disappearing instantly. However, when he appeared in front of Bulma to catch him, his pupils shrank, because the mysterious man also appeared in front of him, so fast. Chapter 105 Daughter. Goku clearly sensed the movement trajectory of the opponent's ki, so he knew that the opponent did not use teleportation like him, but could achieve almost the same terrifying speed as teleportation. This is somehow more terrifying than using teleportation directly. Goku also stared. The identity of the other party was still uncertain, and he did not dare to bet that the other party would not hurt Bulma. He quietly retracted his hands. Bulma seemed to notice something at this time. There was not much panic in his eyes, but he blinked at the mysterious girl in front of him. The mysterious girl didn't care so much. She simply pointed at Goku and said in a clear voice, "I want to challenge you. Sarah, use all your strength and show me how to use your KO fighting skills." Goku frowned slightly, and then his eyes became strange. The KO fighting technique is a unique skill that he has high hopes for. It is a top-notch skill. Even Gohan has not taught it yet, because this technique first requires learning Kaioken, and then it also requires high control of ki point. However, the effect is also very amazing. Goku can use this move in Super Saiyan transformation to achieve a superimposed effect for a short time. Over the past year, he has tried to perfect it and has greatly reduced the consumption of KO's tactics, but it is still not perfect and there is still room for development. This is also the reason why he is not in a hurry to teach it to Gohan. This move can be regarded as unique to him. Like Dragon Fist, it is a secret method that will not be easily spread to others or even known by outsiders. Even Piccolo and others only knew that he could use Kaioken to superimpose a Super Saiyan transformation. In fact, they could not imagine how difficult it was, and the girl from the future in front of me actually knows. "What's your name?" Goku asked suddenly. Why are you asking this?" The girl was a little panicked, and then she became angry, and a burst of anger broke out from her body. She pretended to be calm, and put her hands on her hips and said, "Stop talking nonsense. I'm here to challenge you." He was stunned for a moment, as if he had forgotten his words, and after a while he suddenly said loudly, "I'm Super Saiyan Superman. Ha 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 ha. Come and fight with me, or I will destroy the earth." Goku was originally a little happy to see his future daughter, but when he heard the child's words and funny laugh, his eyelids jumped, and he gritted his teeth secretly. Okay, Gohan, you brat, just wait for me. Let's not talk about anything else. It's just this Super Saiyan Superman. Don't think about it. It was definitely Gohan who brought it out and didn't run away. I secretly made up my mind that in the future, whether it is Bulma or Shisha's daughter, I will definitely not give it to Gohan. It would be too embarrassing, and this Super Saiyan Superman must be completely killed. Otherwise we won't be able to keep this child. Gohan, I don't know anything yet. I'm just a 6-year-old child. Goku put Bulma on the ground, then looked up at the girl in front of him, sighed, and didn't ask more questions. This kid didn't know who to follow. He was afraid that asking too many questions would affect history, and then the timeline. Extra parallel time and space emerge. Pointing upward, he said, "Go up there and fight. I'll teach you KO's fighting techniques." But, with that said, the two of them burst out with 2 bursts of energy and rushed high into the sky. As the height climbed, Goku was interested in testing the strength of his future daughter. Well, mainly to see the reaction. He could feel that the strength of the other party was far greater than his current self. I didn't feel anything in my heart, but I was quite happy. His eyes were on the panel. Host, Son Goku Bloodline, Saiyan, lower level warrior, age 23 ki, combat power 85 million, 9/10, potential value, gold. 3 skills, KO war technique, special skill, super turtle style kicking, Kaioken, vitality bomb, dancing sky technique, 10,000 kingdoms shocking palm, dark control, superpowers, gravity control, 20 times gravity, soul exchange, telekinesis, universe survival, devil's favor thanks to the potential value contributed by Vegeta. Goku's potential value is almost overflowing again in just 1 year, since his battle with Frieza. When the time comes, he will be able to release it, and his strength will increase by 10 times. This will be a qualitative change. The golden potential value was wasted once before, and he will not use it again. This is the real bottom line thing point. Even though there are only 3 points, it is converted to 2 cubed, which is a full 8 times improvement. And once there is a little more, it will be a full 16 times, because he had to waste a little while dealing with demonic cultivators. Goku felt distressed about this for a long time point as the altitude gradually climbed to the point where the oxygen gradually became thinner. Goku noticed something was wrong. At this time, he saw that the mysterious girl did not feel any discomfort at all point with a trace of doubt. Goku began to increase his energy and directly transformed into a Super Saiyan state point bang. Bang bang bang. The fight was very fast. Since the other party wanted to see the King of K's fighting methods, it happened that Goku had only been developing it alone for so long, but had not completely perfected it. Just increase the maximum multiplier of Kaioken's instantaneous burst to 20 times, and superimpose a Super Saiyan transformation, and the increased combat power multiplier is a full 70 times, based on his current combat power of 8500. After the increase, the combat power will be 5.95 billion. The combat power is already terrifying. Even if the possible androids number 17 and 18 appear in front of him, they will definitely not be his opponent. Even Cheru, unless he undergoes an evolution, he is not afraid at all. Boom. Hey. Halfway through the fight, under Goku's doubtful gaze, the girl suddenly stepped away, letting out a triumphant laugh, raising her hands, and placing them on both sides of her head. Goku noticed something was wrong. His pupils shrank, and then he assumed the same posture without hesitation, and then, sun. Fist exclamation point quote asterisk 2 exclamation point. It is indeed my own. In some important duels, Goku actually likes to use this move to find opportunities. The reason is that it is easy to use. This kind of trick, which seems to have little lethality and cannot increase combat power, can have a surprisingly successful effect if used well. It is a magical skill that has almost no risk, but can bring high returns, but except when fighting Saiyan Jinfan. Goku has never seen anyone use this trick on him. I didn't expect for a moment that my eyes were sore and unbearable when I was carelessly stabbed by the bright light, which was very uncomfortable. Bang. TSK. Goku raised his hand and grabbed the fist from the mysterious girl. He squinted his eyes and looked uncomfortable. After all, I'm also your father. I actually did something evil. You have to deal with it, right? Directly applying KO's battle method, the combat power fluctuated from high to low, perfectly connected to the moment of collision. Although the difference in combat power was huge, it made the mysterious girl feel very uncomfortable, and was a little helpless for a while. In addition, the Sun Fist just now was at away attack. Now not only Goku, but also the other party was feeling uncomfortable. First, the general was suppressed by Goku and retreated steadily. Use your breath to feel. Your eyes are not so important at this time. Don't you want to learn the King of K's fighting methods? First learn to use ki, and then find your own fighting rhythm. Why don't you transform? Ah, damn it. I'm so angry. Goku's nagging words seemed to irritate the other party. As a golden light surged, the terrifying aura instantly surpassed Goku, and then came behind him with lightning speed. He actually locked Goku from behind with his hands, showing a proud laugh. How's it going? There's no way. Hey. As soon as his hand was empty, Goku teleported to behind her and patted her shoulder. The mysterious girl screamed in anger, and then the power in her hand began to surge. Goku suddenly felt the pressure and could only parry and retreat. Hiss. Why is this kid so energetic? Not to mention the pain from the beating. His defense and speed are also frighteningly high. Even if there is a gap in combat power, it is still based on strength. Even if a Saiyan transforms 100 times, he will still be a flesh and blood body, and his physical strength will not be too outrageous. The most outrageous physical defense Goku has ever seen so far is the Demon Dragon. It is almost impossible to confront them head on at the same level, and it is not that easy to kill them. Chapter 106 Trunks. After a long fight, Goku was so tired that he had no choice but to stop the fight. The mysterious girl was still reasonable and did not continue to act recklessly. How will your life be in the future? Yeah. The mysterious girl was a little happy and nodded, eager to say something, but Goku raised his hand to stop her. Don't say it, just let me know. You have disturbed time and space. Go back as soon as possible. If nothing happens, don't come here again. Cut. Hearing this, the girl lowered her head unhappily, then turned around and flew down, shouting, "Dad is an idiot." His eyelids twitched. Goku felt the need to discuss it with Bulma, and sighed helplessly. Goku glanced at the surrounding universe space, and he thought thoughtfully. He had the ability to survive in the universe, but after fighting for so long, the opponent did not feel any discomfort at all. This shows that his future daughter should have similar abilities. He held his chin with one hand and thought deeply. Can his talents and superpowers be inherited? Whoosh! Without thinking for too long, a spark fell directly from beside him to the earth, and Goku noticed it. Vegeta. Why is he back? Then Goku thought of Frieza, and guessed the reason why Vegeta returned to Earth. It fell to the ground. Waiting for him to return to the ground, he found an unexpected existence. Trunks frowning slightly, Goku felt a little surprised. Since the mysterious girl before was his daughter, what happened to Trunks? And judging from his appearance and clothing, Trunks is the same as in the original work, and he is also a mixed race Saiyan. Goku doesn't think he and Bulma will have Trunks. Goku, you're back. That guy seems to be here to find you too. By the way, that guy Vegeta met the guy you just fought with, and wanted to challenge him, but he got beaten up. Now he's lying there over there. Klin came over and explained. Looking in the direction Klin pointed, he saw a huge crater appearing in the distance. Vegeta's energy was greatly weakened, and he felt that he should have been beaten badly. Goku couldn't tell how strong the mysterious girl was, and it was conservatively at the full power level of a Super Saiyan. Vegeta has finally hit the wall. At this time, Trunks was standing in front of Frieza's universe spacecraft with an expression of disbelief, his face full of confusion and cold sweat. How could this happen? Is there anything I can do to help? Goku sighed slightly. Judging from his calm and resolute appearance, Trunks must indeed have come from the time and space he knew, and he seemed to be living in an apocalyptic world. Regardless of whether he is Bulma's child or not, he will not leave Trunks alone. Mr. Son Goku, you are Mr. Son Goku, right? Trunks suddenly looked a little excited. That's right, you must be. Trunks had too many doubts and was about to ask for clarification. However, seeing so many people here, he still hesitated. He pointed to the distance and said, "Mr. Son Goku, can you come with me? I have a lot of questions. Important things must be told to you alone." "Hey, isn't that too rude of you?" Bulma frowned a little, but Goku nodded and walked far away with Trunks. Although it couldn't be hidden from Piccolo's ears, there was no doubt about Piccolo's words, and could be trusted. Then Goku briefly explained the situation on his side. Trunks inquired about several key time points, such as Frieza, and then determined the fact that the two worlds were not in the same time and space. Bang. Kang, why did you suddenly take action? Then, is that guy also a Super Saiyan? Really? Trunks naturally inevitably tested Goku's strength again, but Goku frowned. Trunks' strength did not surprise him. Almost close to 10 million, and after transformation, it is also a normal Super Saiyan increase of 50 times. But whether it is combat skills or mastery of ki, he cannot even be considered a qualified martial artist, let alone an Earth warrior. So much is lacking. It's really amazing. As expected of you. In this case, I think your future will definitely be different. Trunks took back the sword of the brave, and said very happily. Goku waved his hand, indicating that he didn't need to use honorifics all the time, and asked casually, "Didn't your father teach you how to practice?" Trunks had a sad expression on his face, and glanced at Vegeta, who had climbed up in the distance. Goku's eyes showed that Trunks was indeed Vegeta's son in another time and space. "Dad died when I was very young, sorry." Goku sighed apologetically. "It doesn't matter." Trunks was very strong and shook his head and continued, "Aunt Bulma and teacher Son Gohan taught me a lot of things, but they still haven't changed anything." "Wait a minute, isn't your mother Bulma?" Goku was stunned for a moment, and he was a little confused. Trunks nodded without knowing why, and said honestly, "My mother is Aunt Bulma's sister. Aunt Bulma has never had a lover, Since she broke up with Mr. Yamcha. I heard my mother say, Aunt Bulma has actually been waiting for you, Mr. Son Goku, but because you have fallen in love with Aunt Shishi, she has never, in the future, everyone was killed by androids. Mr. Goku, you also died in an accident, and then Aunt Bulma studied the time machine and sent me here, hoping to change that hell such a future. Goku was silent and didn't speak, listening to Trunks' story. Bringing the universe spoken by Trunks into my mind follows the original plotline, but only Trunks' line has undergone some changes due to the butterfly effect. The final result is still that Bulma lives a lonely life, encounters a sudden change before the age of 30, and continues to struggle to survive in the apocalypse, while taking care of Gohan and Trunks as they grow up. Hoping to save the Earth. A weak woman, but she has been holding on silently. Perhaps only when she dies can she reunite with her former companions. Goku's expression was a little heavy. It was so desperate that it was hard for him to imagine how Bulma could persevere alone in such a desperate world, let alone after witnessing his former companions and family members die one by one in front of him. With mixed feelings in his heart, Goku let out a long breath, looked at Trunks in front of him, and sighed. How much time do you have? If you have enough time, I can help you practice, so that you can defeat the androids of the future. Really? Mr. Son Goku, his expression was shocked, but then Trunks shook his head sadly. Aunt Bulma was in a bit of a dangerous situation when I came here. It's better to go back first. If I have the chance, I will come back to accept your guidance. Thank you, Mr. Son Goku, you let me see a different future. With that said, he bowed deeply, and Goku helped him up. Later, Trunks remembers business and hands Goku a bottle of medicine, explaining that it is medicine to heal his body. Goku took it and watched Trunks leave, looking thoughtfully at the medicine in his hand. He didn't think he would get any viral heart disease. Goku in the original timeline had overstretched his potential too many times, and it was normal for him to have physical problems. When I was a child, I drank a poisonous magical water that stimulated my potential. After growing up, especially in the Frieza chapter, his combat power jumped from less than 10,000 to 3 million in just 1 month. This is no longer as simple as overdraft potential, and it cannot be justified, even if it does not shorten your lifespan. Even with Goku's current pace of direct cheating, he dare not say that his combat power can increase so many times in 1 month. Saiyans are a fighting race, but they are also flesh and blood. They have limits, and are not 100. Poison does not invade. And when he died of illness, Goku wasn't even sure if it was a natural death on the other side of the underworld. If so, I'm afraid not even the dragon can be resurrected. Chapter 107 Goddamn Super Saiyan Superman. Goku told the others the half-truth and half-false information sent by Trunks. After learning about it, a group of people were very shocked and expressed that they would work hard to practice in the future. Really, I was resurrected once. I didn't expect that a more terrifying monster would arrive so soon. Haha. Yamcha looked very reluctant. He felt like he was going to find a hole to lie down in at any time. Why? Saiyan Jin rice and dumplings were a bit silent. They knew very well that their current strength would be difficult to use in the future, so naturally they had no fighting spirit. Krillin is still optimistic. Oh, really? Don't be so pessimistic. Isn't there Goku here? It will definitely be fine. Ha 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 ha. That's right. Okay, I will practice hard in the next 3 years. I always have to prove myself. HMPH. A bunch of fun people. A sudden discordant sound caused everyone to look at him angrily. Vegeta walked over with his hands folded, aiming directly at Goku, provocatively saying, Kakarot, don't think that just because you are ahead now means you will always be better than me. 3 years. 3 years. Yes. From now, after I get rid of those artificial humans, you will be next. Goku didn't care and smiled lightly. Then I'll wait and see. Snort. With a cold snort, Vegeta exploded and flew away. Goku looked at the direction he left and shook his head. I'm sorry, Vegeta. I won't wait for you this time. Bye. The way, Goku, did that mysterious boy tell you the specific time and place? Yes, everyone reacted at this time and looked at Goku. Goku was stunned for a moment and scratched his head. The small island in the east, southeast, everyone, Bulma, covered her forehead helplessly. In the end, it was Piccolo who accurately named the island where the artificial man appeared. This prevented an unexpected incident and everyone left the scene one after another. Gohan and Piccolo went back to Baozi Mountain first, while Goku sent Bulma back to the west capital. In the middle of the flight, Bulma was carried by Goku. He looked a little distracted and suddenly said, "By the way, Goku, do you know who the mysterious girl was before? I don't know why, but I feel like I have seen her somewhere." He looked very friendly, but I can't remember where I saw him before. Bulma was lost in thought. Goku smiled when he heard this, and then said, "I should have seen him. I will tell you when I get back." "Really? Just tell me now, okay?" Goku. Bulma immediately started to act coquettishly, his eyes twitching. Hearing this, Goku was a little dumbfounded. "It's not appropriate here, right?" "That's not impossible." 1 year later, in the capital of the West, the Bulma family. It was a sunny day, but the Briff family was extremely nervous. Dr. Briff and Mrs. Briff were sitting on the bench in the corridor. Goku was holding Gohan, resting his chin on Gohan's head, looking at Kiki who was spinning left and right in front of him, his eyes moving left and right. Meow. Mrs. Brief was holding a tabby cat and petting it. Perhaps she was too nervous and exerted too much force. The cat ran away, and she grabbed Dr. Brief who was smoking and tinkering with a small invention in his drum. "Oh, husband, I'm so nervous now. Will Bulma be okay? And my grandson? Will he faint?" And then, he said that he scared himself, stood up directly, and said she was pacing back and forth as well. Drive. Brive, keep playing with the toys in your hands. She suddenly stopped at this time and walked up to Goku, about to get angry, but paused, took Gohan away, then raised his finger and pointed at Goku and said angrily, "Goku, how can you be so calm? You be asterisk D dad and husband are too incompetent. Do you know?" Goku scratched his head. "I know point, but there's no point in hurrying. I said that I could make a wish with the Dragon Ball and be born directly. Although it is still a stone, it is not impossible to ask the gods to refresh the CD in advance. In the end, didn't you persuade Bulma that only by experiencing it personally can you understand the feeling of being a mother? Do you blame me?" Wow. At this moment, a loud cry faintly came from the delivery room with excellent sound insulation. Several people stood up and came to the door of the delivery room. After a while, the door of the delivery room did not open, but Goku was stunned for a moment. Then his eyes narrowed, and he disappeared directly and rushed into the delivery room. Boom. A terrible energy erupted from the delivery room, shaking the door of the delivery room to the point of shaking. Not only that, the entire delivery room was in shambles except for Bulma, who was protected by Goku. All the female doctors who delivered the babies were in disarray. His face fell in the corner in disbelief. 2 of them were knocked unconscious directly. "Goku, what's going on? What happened?" She and others quickly rushed in to check the situation. Goku, on the other hand, looked at the baby girl who was neither crying nor fussing and already asleep in his arms, his eyes a little solemn. Now he knew why there was so much pressure in his previous fight with the mysterious girl. Here was the problem. The aura just now was unmistakable. It was more violent than a Saiyan, and it was definitely not a terrifying aura that a newly born Saiyan could have. A scary word came to Goku's mind, the legendary Super Saiyan. There are 2 explanations for this statement. One is that it was a legend among Saiyans before the Super Saiyan appeared. The other is the true legendary Super Saiyan. According to legend, only one terrifying monster will appear among Saiyans every 1,000 years. Cruel, bloodthirsty, terrifyingly powerful, a terrifying talent that is almost unsolvable, a special mutant bloodline that only rarely appears among Saiyans. He is naturally powerful, and his combat power increases exponentially every year. The potential is nearly endless, and the key fighting power that the baby girl in front of me had just exploded was close to 10,000. Even before Gohan could remember, his accidental burst of energy would not have reached this point. There is no doubt about this talent, and the only possibility is to become a legendary Super Saiyan. Mayan Bulma's daughter turned out to be the legendary Super Saiyan. No, that's not accurate. It should be half. half-blood, but it's also terrible, and it can't change this child's talent and potential, which is even more terrifying than Gohan. 2 days later, Bulma's house point a dinosaur poked its head curiously outside the window, tilting its head to look at it. Gohan hurriedly ran over, held it down, and pushed it out. Point fast dragon. Woo, okay, quick dragon, you go back first, I will come to play with you later. Gohan hurriedly sent it away, and then walked to Nioda's living room. Point at this time, Dr. Briff and Goku were gathered around a stroller, just staring. How about calling me Zaobu? Isn't it too tacky? Really, Dad, can you think about it seriously? Bulma was very dissatisfied with this name. Point that's right, a group of people gathered here to name the child. In fact, they had already thought of a few names, but Bulma was not satisfied. Goku was a little drowsy and yawned. As a result, the little ghost in the stroller also yawned in synchrony and woke up. Wow, boom, an astonishing burst of energy made Goku's face change slightly, and he hurriedly stepped in front of him to protect Dr. Brive. He finally coaxed the daughter in his arms, to be honest, and Goku's eyelids jumped. Point after a while, the terrifying green flame gradually dissipated. Goku reluctantly picked up his daughter, took the bottle from Shishi, and fed it to the little one. Point just like Gohan, when he was a child, because he is a mixed blood, his bloodline has not been fully awakened, and is not so stable, especially with this terrifying legendary physique. If it breaks out accidentally, it may hurt the Briefs and Bulma. Point. So Goku had no choice but to take care of him first. Point. After looking at Gohan, who was curious, he probably had to let this kid help take care of him in the future. Point. Thinking of the mysterious girl's appearance, Goku's expression was slightly helpless. Now he was absolutely sure that Gohan's problem must be corrected. You really can't just say that you are a Super Saiyan and that's it. Point. What the hell is Super Saiyan? Chapter 108 Unknown Attack. Goku, what's going on? It was like this before. My daughter will be fine, right? Bulma looked at her little daughter worriedly. Goku explained that there was no good solution, so he could only choose a compromise plan. I will take care of her for a while, or Gohan will take care of her first. It should be fine when she grows up. She doesn't know yet how to control your own power. The little guy, who didn't understand but quickly drank a bottle of milk, started to scream again. She handed him another bottle and calmed him down. Well, really, you are really a naughty guy. PFFT. Bulma stretched out his hand to tease his daughter, who was holding a bottle and slurping her milk. Point. She smiled dotingly, and the little girl didn't cry or make a fuss, just letting her do what she wanted. Point. I pinched my face twice, but it wouldn't be possible if I didn't have anything to eat. Point. Go to bed when you are full. Meow. Xiaomi, you're here. What's wrong? Have you finished the food? Watching Mrs. Briff leave with the tabby cat in her arms, Goku looked at his daughter sleeping in his arms, and suddenly said with a smile, just call me Xiaomi. How about son Xiaomi? Isn't it too casual? Bulma was still a little dissatisfied. Wow. The little guy turned over and changed into a comfortable position to continue sleeping. He instinctively reached out and grabbed the corner of Goku's clothes and slept soundly. Point. Although Bulma was still not satisfied, he had no better choice, so Bulma and Goku decided on the name of their first child. Point. Son Xiaomi, the legendary hybrid Super Saiyan. To be honest, Goku was already looking forward to how amazing she would be when she grew up. Point. After receiving the news, Tacy also flew back from the universe. Goku thought about Trunks and was still a little curious about how Vegeta and Tace met, so he casually asked, Tace, do you know Vegeta? I know you. Tacy was also very generous and just hugged Xiaomi and played with her. Fortunately, the child just looked at her curiously with a pair of big eyes and did not suddenly lose control and explode. Bulma was a little surprised. Sister, do you know Vegeta? When did it happen? Well, probably a long time ago. I met Jack when I was traveling together. At that time, he wanted to rob my universe spaceship. As a result, our universe spaceship was also destroyed, and we were trapped on a planet for a long time. Well, it's quite interesting to say. Tacy told a secret. She often borrowed Jack's spaceship to travel to alien planets, and she had done so for many years. I have to say that my luck is really good. an ordinary earthling, can roam freely in the universe for so many years without encountering any accidents, and comes back safely every time. By the way, Vegeta lives at my place now. Bulma, hey? Goku is also stuck. What's going on? Tacy explained. He doesn't know anyone. He once invaded the Earth and had nowhere to go. I happened to see him on the street preparing to rob him that day, so I took him back. Sister, that guy is so vicious. How could you? Bulma was a little nervous, worried that Tacy would be injured. Tacy didn't panic at all and waved her hands and said, "No, I told him that he could help replenish food and fuel for the universe spaceship, but the condition is that he can't cause damage. But after he replenished it, he went back to the universe. I come back about once a month or two, and this time the spacecraft was damaged, so I came to you and Dad to help repair it." Bulma glanced at Goku, pulled him out, and whispered, "Goku, is there really nothing wrong with Vegeta?" "No, I warned him not to destroy the Earth. Even if he does damage, it will probably only be robbery or something." Goku spread his hands lightly, not caring what happened to Vegeta. Now it seems that Tacy has pinched Vegeta's weakness, and Vegeta wants to surpass him and become the strongest Super Saiyan. He doesn't want to stay on Earth, but if he's not on Earth, he really has nowhere to go and can only drift aimlessly in the universe. So it became the weird thing it is now. Bulma was still a little worried, but at this time Tacy came out, holding Xiaomi, who had fallen asleep, handed it to Goku, handed a universal capsule to Bulma and said, "Leave it to you. By the way, Vegeta seems to want to add a function that can adjust gravity. How can that kind of thing be so easy? Really?" Bulma was really worried about Tacy and worried that she would be injured. However, she still gave the universal capsule to Dr. Brive. Her skills were still not as good as Dr. Brive's, and she had to take care of her daughter, so she was too lazy to study this kind of thing. Another month passed, and the island, where Tacy was located, was surrounded by the endless sea. A spherical universe spacecraft faintly glowed with red light, trembling violently from time to time, and the tripod supporting the universe spacecraft sank a few points to the ground. Boom. In the spaceship, Vegeta was practicing crazy and almost self-harming. The air environment and humidity in the cabin are also simulated under corresponding gravity conditions. This is Dr. Brive's ability. Not only can he conduct research with almost no restrictions on the basis of theory, but he can also achieve the fastest speed. Complete. Although Bulma is also a genius, there will always be some loopholes in what he researches. On the other hand, Dr. Brive, the first truly manufactured universe spacecraft, can travel directly to and from Namek at a speed that is twice as fast as Namek's technology hundreds of years ago. This shows its strength. At this time, on the console in the spacecraft cabin, a clear 120 message appeared on a display screen. "Drink," with his body on the verge of reaching its limit. Vegeta roared unwillingly, but it was of no use as his potential had been drained. After a long time, the hatch of the universe spacecraft opened. The exhausted Vegeta walked out of it, barely able to stand up. Tacy came over with a glass of juice. "Really? You are really messing around. Hey, stop meddling in other people's business." Tacy turned around and walked away, waved her hand and said, "Yes, I'll just mind my own business." Suddenly, Tacy stopped and looked up to the sky. Vegeta also discovered something. He looked up and saw the familiar universe spacecraft. His face changed slightly. Meanwhile, the Bright family. A little figure still wrapped in a diaper and holding a pacifier in his mouth wandered out from the balcony. When she raised her head, she saw a tall figure appearing in front of her. The little girl was only 1 month old, but she was not afraid of people at all. To be more precise, I'm afraid that others should be afraid of her. Gohan walked into the room holding a special milk bottle that was almost half his height. When he saw Xiaomi being taken away by a figure, he was shocked and chased him out. "Xiaomi. B********D. Who are you?" The most unbearable thing for Gohan was someone hurting his family, let alone the new sister in the family. The terrifying energy in his body suddenly surged to the limit, and his arrogance turned into gold. Boom. Boom. Directly dealing with the universe spaceship and a group of people of unknown origin outside Brive's house, Gohan rescued Xiaomi. Wow. The little guy was rescued by Gohan. Not only did he not cry or make a fuss, he also looked at Gohan with his big eyes, looking like little stars. Gohan, what is going on? Who are these people? Bulma ran out after hearing the sound and was shocked when he saw the mess. I don't know either, but they want to take Xiaomi away. Gohan frowned and pointed at the destroyed universe spaceship and said, that seems to be Frieza's universe spaceship. Real. Some outlines of the destroyed wreckage of the universe spaceship can still be seen, the same as Frieza's flying disc-shaped universe spaceship. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 109 Planet Simoa. Something happened to Xiaomi, and Goku teleported directly from Baozi Mountain. He was practicing with Piccolo, Frieza's Legion. Yes. Bulma hugged Xiaomi, who had been coaxed to sleep, and said with some lingering fear, that spaceship does belong to Frieza's Legion, but I'm not sure whether it is. Goku glanced at the wreckage of the spaceship in the distance, suddenly frowned slightly, and Piccolo, who was following him, disappeared. The next moment, Piccolo appeared in front of him clutching a surviving minion. Ah. Spare my life. Spare my life. Who are you? Who asked you to come? Goku's eyes were cold, and he wanted to hurt his daughter. How could such a person stay? Yes, it's Master Paragus who asked us to come, please. Yes, sir. Please and Prince Vegeta go to the new planet Vegeta. Huh? Isn't planet Vegeta already? Bulma was surprised, and Gohan was also confused. Only Goku frowned. Paragus, did this guy really show up again? Naturally, he had no impression of an exiled Saiyan, but he was deeply impressed by the son of Paragus, the real Super Broly. If I remember correctly, that guy seemed to have a lot of grudges with me. To be precise, Broly wanted to kill him unilaterally. The reason is probably that the infant Goku seemed to be too noisy and disturbed the sleeping Broly. That's all. It's outrageous. Such a nonsense reason. But who makes Broly the legendary Super Saiyan? His brain is not very good. After a while, Goku decided to go and have a look. It would be best if he could deal with Broly. He was actually more curious about the amazing benefits he would get if he defeated Broly. The legendary Super Saiyan. Goku has always believed that this should be the most original and strongest talent of Saiyans. There is no one. Even becoming the so-called Super Saiyan God is not as direct as this extremely pure aesthetics of violence. It is too strong and too incomprehensible. The only drawback is probably the inability to stay sane. Otherwise it would be almost perfect. Frieza's talent is far inferior to that of Chu and Chao, not even on the same level. Do you really want to go? Bulma looked at Goku and Gohan worriedly. Goku touched the millet in Bulma's arms. This child was quite honest. He didn't cry or make trouble as long as he had food to eat. Apart from those 2 times, he never lost control again. He smiled and said, it's better to go and meet for a while in advance than to wait for them to come over. The battlefield is on Earth, but I'm tied up. Gohan should also stay. You probably won't be able to help this time, Dad. Gohan was a little excited. His eyes were very firm, and he no longer had the anxiety and immaturity he had in Frieza's chapter. Piccolo smiled with relief. He knew just from this look that Gohan was already a qualified warrior. Gohan, you stay and take care of your sister until we come back. Goku patted Gohan on the shoulder and comforted. You have to protect your sister, you know. Gohan still wanted to follow, but after looking at Xiaomi held by Bulma, he could only lower his head. After struggling for a while, Bulma smiled when he saw this, handed the millet to Gohan, then stepped forward and hugged Goku. Come back soon. No. Immediately, Piccolo raised his hand and put it on Goku's shoulder, asking KO to help transfer the coordinates and sense the energy. Goku took a moment to lock the coordinates, but just before the teleportation was about to start, Xiaomi, who was being held by Gohan, suddenly struggled. Because it was too sudden, and Xiaomi seemed to have gone berserk, even Gohan couldn't control it, and he threw himself on Goku. The next moment, sure, Bulma, looking at the people who suddenly disappeared. Bulma blinked and felt a little dumbfounded, and then panicked again. At the same time, on new planet Vegeta, Goku was holding his daughter, dumbfounded. What was going on? Wow. Xiaomi was very happy. Her little hands shook and flapped happily, as if she wanted to explore the surrounding environment. Gohan hurriedly grabbed her and looked up at Goku. Dad, what should we do? Goku looked at his daughter, who was in high spirits. She probably would have made a fuss if she sent her back directly. He could only smile helplessly. Let's do this for now. Take good care of your sister. If anything happens, I will send you back to Earth. Wow. The little guy couldn't speak, but he was very smart. He immediately noticed several universe people running towards him in the distance. Who are you? Soon, several heavily armed universe people surrounded Goku and others. Gohan and Piccolo were very wary, but they didn't care. They could see that they were just a group of minions in front of them. But who asked them to carry a millet with them? They couldn't be more nervous. Goku is ready to take action. Wait. At this moment, a middle-aged Saiyan man wearing a white cloak walked over, and the crowd moved out of the way. Goku's eyes moved slightly. There were only 2 Saiyans who could appear in such a place. Apart from Broly, there was only his biological father, Paragus. There was no doubt about the identity of the person in front of him. Paragus crossed the crowd and came to Goku. He glanced at Gohan beside him, and his attitude was very respectful. He bowed directly and said, "You must be Kakarot, right? I know your father Bardock is an excellent warrior. I didn't expect you to be able to defeat Frieza. It's really shocking. Please come with me. Prince Vegeta has arrived." Goku glanced at Gohan and signaled him to be optimistic about Xiaomi, and then Goku and others followed Paragus towards the castle. The indigenous people on this planet are naturally not Saiyans, but another race, the Simoans. But they have now been completely enslaved by Paragus. Along the way there is a dilapidated scene with broken eaves and broken walls. In addition, there is a group of aborigines working in the mines. Paragus is a high-ranking Saiyan who has been in power during King Vegeta's time, and one of the few with ambitions and ideas. This is extremely rare among the Saiyans, who mostly only know how to fight. Since Paragus knew that Broly was a Dencheo, he wanted to train him, but King Vegeta was afraid of him and killed Broly directly and abandoned him. Paragus was unwilling to give up, so he took the surviving Broly away and fled to this planet. Over the years, Broly has grown up and his ambitions have grown. However, Broly's power cannot be controlled at all, so he can only stay in a corner year after year. Planet Vegeta was destroyed, but Frieza was still alive. Until Paragus happened to learn that Goku defeated Frieza and that Vegeta was also on Earth. He had some ideas. Knowing that he couldn't control Broly's super weapon, he simply used some tricks to lure Vegeta and Goku over. In his opinion, as long as he kills other Super Saiyans, Broly will be the strongest, and he will become the new emperor of the universe. This is Paragus's ambition. Unfortunately, the ideal is beautiful, but the reality is cruel. After all, he has not gotten rid of the way of thinking of the Saiyans during Frieza and King Vegeta. He can only live for a few decades at most. If he is not careful, he will be crushed to death by Broly, but he is trying to rule the universe in this fragile balance. Chapter 110 Broly. Along the way, Goku was a little wary. He could already feel a huge and violent aura on this planet. Very strong, not even much weaker than him. After a year of recuperation, as well as the potential value contributed by Demon Cultivator and Vegeta, plus the accidental absorption of part of the Vitality Bullet boost, the potential value has been overflowed again. Host, Son Goku Bloodline, Saiyan, lower level warrior, age 24. Key, combat. Power 90 million, 10/10, potential value, gold. 3 skills, Super Turtle Style Kicking, Kaioken, Vitality Bomb, Wukan Technique, 10,000 Kingdoms Shocking Palm, Dark Control, Superpowers, Gravity Control, 20 times Gravity, Soul Exchange, Telekinesis, Universe Survival, Devil's Favor. This is Goku's current panel. He has not improved much through his own training, but it has increased by 5 million within a year. This is a normal improvement rate. It seems exaggerated, but compared to his current strength, this improvement can only be said to be very limited. The key is to rely on the release of potential point after all. This is the most terrifying talent of Saiyans. This is also the fundamental reason why Goku has the confidence to come here to Broly point. Otherwise, based solely on the timeline of the original work, the strength displayed by Broly when he first appeared is simply a terrifying gap. The Super Saiyan transformation that completely crushed Goku and others, and even multiple people attacking him at the same time, and even the combined power of several people could not shake Broly in the slightest. It's simply too strong to be unreasonable. It is conservatively estimated that it is also the terrifying strength of the second or even third level of Super Saiyan, but everything will have to wait until the actual fight to know. So Goku is not in a hurry. Arriving near Paragus' castle, they saw Vegeta as expected. Gohan and Piccolo were a little wary. Goku noticed the tall figure behind Vegeta, more than 2 meters tall, with a strong body, but his eyes were a little dull, and he didn't look like a warrior at all. But Goku knows very well that the legendary Super Saiyan is different from ordinary Saiyans. In other words, ordinary Saiyans can only approach the legendary Super Saiyan by developing their Super Saiyan transformation to the extreme. For example, Gohan, who first turned into Super Saiyan 2, and Goku, who turned into Super Saiyan 3 for the first time, both have certain characteristics and appearance similarities with Broly: the same brutality, power, and arrogant snort. Vegeta didn't have a good expression after seeing Goku. He noticed Gohan beside him and sneered, "What, Kakarot, are you traveling here? That's just right. I will defeat the legendary Super Saiyan. Man, prove that I'm the strongest." As he spoke, he pointed at himself with a thumbs up, looking arrogant. "Really? But I feel like he is much better than you." Goku glanced at him, then pointed at Broly, his eyes not looking at Vegeta from beginning to end. Shaking his head secretly. The gap is too big. Just like when Vegeta didn't see the difference between himself and Frieza at all, and once thought he was a Super Saiyan, he still doesn't realize that Broly next to him is the legendary Super Saiyan. That huge, violent and terrifying aura was at least 10 times stronger than Vegeta's. Vegeta's current combat power is about 12 million. Although I don't know how hard he has gone through in training, his potential has definitely been stimulated a lot. It is indeed not easy to increase so much strength in such a short period of time. After transformation, it can also reach 600 million combat power, but this is not enough in front of Broly. Broly's basic combat power, according to Goku's perception alone, exceeds hundreds of millions. In front of him, Vegeta was like the stars compared to the bright moon. There was no comparison at all. "What did you say?" Vegeta's face changed, and then he looked at Paragus. At this time, the latter's face also changed in shock. Unexpectedly, Goku saw Broly's fear at a glance. His face sank, and he stopped pretending immediately and confessed directly. "Own plan, Prince Vegeta. Soon, this planet will be destroyed. You will all die here, and Broly will take me to escape. From now on, I will be the strongest in the universe." Ha ha ha. The disguise is broken, and Paragus's ambition and stupidity are revealed. "What are you talking about?" Vegeta's face was gloomy, not realizing that Broly, who had been calm behind him, had changed at this time. "Kakarot." A low, suppressed voice sounded, and Broly began to lose his mind. He took a step forward, and the ground beneath his feet instantly sunk, shattered, and turned into ashes. Boom. Green flames mixed with light gold spurted out from the body, and the power limiting headband on Broly's forehead emitted a golden light, trying to control him, but the result was obvious. Broly had already started to go berserk. Step by step towards Goku. Paragus instinctively backed away in horror. He was frightened half to death by Broly's aura. He tried to control Broly with the controller, but it only made Broly struggle for a moment in his eyes, and then continued to walk towards Goku. "Damn it, your opponent is me." Drink. Vegeta was angry and saw Broly ignoring him and walking towards Goku. The pride in his heart was stimulated, and he transformed directly, flew up and kicked Broly on the shoulder. Bang. In the end, Broly couldn't even move at a pace. "No, I probably didn't even feel it." Broly continued to walk towards Goku step by step without any change. With every step he took, the ground beneath his feet seemed to be crushed. crushed and collapsed by tens of tons of terrifying boulders. The terrifying sense of oppression made the air freeze. Gohan, take your sister further away. Goku pushed Gohan and asked him to step away first. Piccolo also took off his cloak and put on a fighting stance with a solemn gaze. In 1 year, because he practiced with Goku and gave Gohan some guidance, he also made great progress. At least he might not lose against the current Vegeta. But even so, he still had no confidence in the face of Broly's terrifying aura. Piccolo, please help me keep an eye on Gohan and Xiaomi. Thank you. Goku moved his hands, showing his fighting spirit for the first time in a long time. It had been a long time since he had encountered a real battle. The one against Frieza was not considered as it was too dangerous. In the subsequent duel, the demon cultivators were demons, which gave him the feeling that they were not fighting, but fighting. Going forward, not to mention, Goku rarely encounters opponents on Earth. Android 11 is one of them, but after all, he is not a warrior, but a killing machine. Broly's appearance made him feel pressure and blood boiling for a long time. Goku. Piccolo frowned, then nodded and retreated to Goku's side in the distance. Click. Broly walked forward step by step. After one blow, Vegeta realized the abyss-like gap and completely lost his will to fight and knelt on the ground. This is a reason why Saiyans can never transform during King Vegeta's time. They are bloodthirsty and cruel, no different from wild beasts. Once they are suppressed by strength and blood, they will immediately lose the will to resist and cower and tremble. Even as proud as Vegeta, there is no way to get rid of this oppression. It's really amazing. Goku licked the corner of his mouth. In fact, he could feel the pressure at this time. There was sweat on his forehead, but his heart was extremely excited and his blood was boiling. Chapter 111 Horrible Broly. On the planet Samoa, a terrifying green light suddenly erupted. Broly, I order you to stop. Paragus was still having his sweet dream, but in an instant, Broly completely exploded when he saw Goku so close at hand. The whole body exploded with a green light. The limiter on the forehead was directly destroyed, and the monstrous breath turned into key flames and came out of the body. For a moment, the few people who were proficient in key perception felt that their brains went blank for an instant. With Broly at the core, a breath of air spreads, and all the surrounding objects seem to have lost their color and become frozen in black and white photos. Only Broly's body was shrouded in a layer of strange yellow-green aura, and his figure increased dramatically again. The terrifying energy aftermath dissipated, and Broly's original size increased from 232 centimeters to 286.5 centimeters. Not only did he become taller, but his body also enlarged in almost equal proportions, and his muscles throughout his body expanded to a terrifying level. This state reminds Goku of a form. Super Saiyan level 3. A defective transformation that sacrifices the speed of Super Saiyan in exchange for a higher burst. It is a transitional form before the full power of Super Saiyan, but Broly is different. Kakarot. The blood sacrifice starts with you. Drink. Goku has no intention of communicating with this lunatic. Didn't he just disturb your sleep? I killed your whole family? Do you hate me so much? Directly transforming into a Super Saiyan, an electric arc flashed across Goku's body, and his ki expanded to fight Broly. The 4.5 billion fighting power of ki was enough to fight Broly. Broly seemed stunned for a moment, then roared and punched Goku without hesitation. Bang. Boom. The ground beneath his feet exploded instantly, and Goku's figure flew into the sky from the dust. Broly chased after him directly behind him, his arrogance undiminished at all, as if he had not been consumed at all. Goku's expression was a little solemn. This is the most difficult part of the legendary Super Saiyan. Nearly infinite potential, violent, murderous, cruel and evil. It seems that there is endless power, and the only way to defeat it is to absolutely crush it in terms of strength. Don't run, Kakarot. While pursuing, Broly roared and released streams of green destructive energy towards Goku. The destructive Kigen waves were wildly swayed, as if they were free of charge. Goku's frown deepened. He had already seen Broly's fighting power, which was the same as his Super Saiyan transformation. Both have a 50-fold increase and a basic combat power of 100 million, so at this moment the combat power is exactly 5 billion. but this kind of disorganized fighting style, which requires 10 times the energy to use even Wukong Jutsu, greatly reduces his combat efficiency. This is why Goku is not afraid of Broly. Point in short, Broly can't keep up with his speed. Whoosh. After some cutting, Goku led Broly to a canyon. While Broly was chasing him, he gradually slowed down. When Broly got closer, he suddenly turned around and threw out a key slash. Buzz. The terrifying air blade that cuts through the air arrives in front of you instantly. Broly's pupils shrank, and the sudden release of ki became a fatal problem. Not only did he not be able to form a defense immediately, but the distance was too close and too sudden, and he had no time to dodge. Point laugh. At the last moment, under Goku's sharply contracted gaze, Broly dodged this fatal blow in an almost terrifying way. I saw that he actually forcibly erupted with stronger ki. Point the green gas flame increased crazily and changed the trajectory of ki un slash. Point he was just rubbed across his chest by ki un slash, leaving a scalded blood mark. Point other than that, there was no trace of blood at all. Point he wasn't seriously injured. Goku's attacks are naturally not that simple. 3 consecutive ki un slashes follow almost without any gaps. However, Broly's fighting instincts and talents are truly terrifying. Point but, after the energy in the whole body was converted from yellow-green to green, it seemed that the control was improved to a higher level. He actually used ki to form a green spherical energy shield around the body. When the ki un slash cuts on it, it can only bring up spark-like green energy, and then it is directly bounced away, which shows how powerful this move is. Not only that, an even more terrifying scene appeared. Point Broly stretched out his hand, grabbed the last ki un slash in his hand, and then crushed the ki un slash into pieces with both hands. Gilu, the legendary Super Saiyan, is so terrifying. Whoosh. Goku retreated decisively. This energy shield was too insoluble, and Broly's energy obviously improved during the battle, and even his control had a qualitative change. It's like learning and growing. Kakarot, bang. Suddenly, Broly burst out with even more terrifying energy, chased Goku, intercepted him, and a fierce fight broke out between the two sides. Bang bang bang. Goku seized the opportunity and directly used 10 times the KO fighting method, punching Broly in the face with all his strength, but only hit his head to one side. Hey. Blood spilled from the corner of Broly's mouth, but he just wiped it away with a grin, and then shouted angrily. A terrifying green energy bomb condensed in his chest and hit Goku. The huge energy caused an explosion, and Goku flew out. Point with his hands crossed in front of his eyes. Goku's eyes were a little solemn. His fighting power was quite good, but the legendary Super Saiyan's physique was to heaven defying. Point the blow just now was just a test, but if it were another being with comparable combat power, I'm afraid he would be injured, or even seriously injured. Having an extra 900 million combat power out of thin air is no joke. Point this is how he solved the demon cultivator, but this kind of attack is like scraping Broly. It doesn't look like a fight on the same level. Who dares to believe it? Goku had tried his best to imagine how powerful the legendary Super Saiyan was, but it turns out that he still underestimated the horror of this legend. Bang bang bang. Caught in a fierce fight, Goku and Broly faced each other, and the battle gradually turned from a tug-of-war to a fierce battle. Point Broly is like a beast that never gets tired, with endless strength and terrifying power, flawless defense, and impeccable defense. Goku fought hard with the KO fighting method, but could only occasionally break through the defense, but could not find a chance to win. Although he could not see the outcome for a while, he would undoubtedly suffer more, and could only keep trying to find opportunities with combat experience. Ooh. Wow. Xiaomi's big eyes rolled around, looking at the bursts of thunder that erupted in the sky in the distance. His two small hands grabbed Goku, as if to cheer him up, but he almost fell down. Gohan was so frightened that he hurriedly hugged him. Gohan also looked at Piccolo anxiously at this time. Uncle Piccolo, Dad, can he win? I don't know. Piccolo frowned and shook his head. He really couldn't tell the outcome of the 2. After thinking for a while, he said, the two of them are about the same amount of energy. Goku and Kaioken are still better. It can be stronger, but Broly's transformation seems to be at a higher level than him, so it will be more difficult to fight. Is that so? When Gohan heard this, his expression became more solemn, and he looked towards the increasingly anxious battlefield. At this time, the planet Samoa seemed to be trembling crazily under the aftermath of the fight between the two. Chapter 112. 900 million. Piccolo knows Goku very well, and even if he faces Frieza, he doesn't think Goku will lose point. But a monster like Broly who had broken the rules was beyond common sense, so he didn't dare to say that Goku was sure to win. This was indeed the case. Even Goku himself didn't have much confidence that he could defeat Broly at this moment. Even the KO's tactics can't injure it. It's really tricky. Damn it. Vegeta regained some fighting spirit at this time, raised his head, and his eyes reflected the two figures who were constantly fighting fiercely, especially Goku, whose eyes gradually glowed with fire. Kakarot. This guy. Always this guy. Why? Kakarot, a low-level warrior, can have such strong strength. In the sky, Goku once again seized a chance point without hesitation. He directly poured out the highest multiple of KO's tactics. A layer of scarlet suddenly appeared in addition to the golden aura. They intertwined together to form a strange, almost dark golden aura, which added to the aura a very oppressive atmosphere. The increase directly reached 70 times. A full blow with a combat power of 6.3 billion. Not only that, the muscles all over Goku's body also swelled a bit at this moment, and he directly blasted Broly with a super turtle style kicking. Boom. Boom boom boom. AHH. This time, Broly seemed to feel the pain, and he let out a painful roar under the energy devouring, roaring crazily, but was suppressed. Damn it. Kakarot. Broly. Drink. Vegeta didn't know that he was too stimulated at this time, so he suddenly broke out, transformed and rushed forward, launching a wave of Prince's tactics from the side. This. B********************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************* distance. They thought Vegeta was helping, but this guy was indiscriminately bombarding Goku and Broly at the same time, invisibly affecting Goku angry. Goku also looked a little ugly, knowing that this was Vegeta's mentality exploding again. But your uncle, your mentality is going to explode. If it doesn't work, you can transform into a gorilla and punch Broly. I'll consider you to be helping. What do you mean by scraping? What's even worse is that this kind of attack is not even worthy of a scraping against Broly's kind of defense. It will only affect his attack. After all, KO's tactics are just special skills. Although they can indeed have the effect of surprising and winning, the so-called special skills highlight a surprise and are things with loopholes and disadvantages. For example, the longer the explosion lasts, the more his physical strength will drain away crazily, and his body will bear a huge load. This requires extremely strong control ability and control of the battle rhythm, and it is very taboo to use stunts that disrupt the rhythm. Unfortunately, Vegeta disrupted this rhythm by accident and indirectly helped Broly. Broly exploded, and the violent green ki flame skyrocketed, converging into the previous energy shield, directly blocking Goku and Vegeta's ki, and actually began to expand crazily. Goku was horrified when he saw it, and he retreated decisively. Retreating to a distance, Goku had cold sweat streaming down his forehead. He was shocked and mixed with a bit of envy. Broly's fighting power is increasing. The biggest bug ability of the legendary Super Saiyan is its potential. It does not require training, and its combat effectiveness can be continuously improved. Sleeping and eating are improved, especially when fighting. If you disagree, you may go berserk, turn on the furious mode, and the combat power will increase unreasonably. Now Broly is obviously starting to be unreasonable. Dad! Gohan shouted worriedly. Goku heard the sound and looked around, only to see that the sky suddenly became much darker at this time, and a huge meteorite was about to fall. This was one of Paragus' plans, so that they would be destroyed by the meteorite together with the planet here. He frowned slightly, and it seemed he couldn't wait any longer. Broly. Paragus had already found a universe spaceship, and was preparing to escape. He had no plans to care about Broly. He knew very well that Broly could not die so easily. And he never considered Broly as a son. In the Saiyan civilization during King Vegeta's time, there was no husband-wife relationship, and naturally there was no father-son affection. It was a purely murderous civilization. However, at this moment, Broly's explosive energy was completed, and one blow smashed Vegeta into the ruins, causing the Earth's rock pan to end point with one blow. Vegeta lost the ability to fight and passed out point immediately afterwards. Broly did not go after Goku, but appeared directly in front of Pegasus' universe spaceship, picked up the spherical universe spaceship with both hands, and then used force suddenly, click, click, to be killed by his own child. Is this the fate of Saiyans? The crushed universe ship was thrown directly towards the huge comet by Broly. Goku hides his aura at this time, preparing to send Gohan, Xiaomi, and Piccolo back to Earth first, before dealing with Broly. However, Broly didn't give him a chance, and without locking his direction, he directly burst out with a terrifying energy, bombing indiscriminately in all directions. Boom. Boom boom boom. If this continues, the entire Simone planet may be destroyed before the comet arrives. A Kigen bomb hit several people impartially. At this time, Goku had not captured the Earth's key. It was too far away and there was no strong key as a target point in the critical situation. Piccolo stood up and blocked the Kigen bomb with all his strength, but he was also blown away and fell into the ground. Uncle Piccolo, Gohan. Goku grabbed the anxious Gohan and sent him and Xiaomi away directly. Whoosh. The next moment, the three people disappeared on the planet Samoa. On Earth, Goku handed the millet to Bulma and casually tore off the martial arts uniform that was damaged due to the battle. With a calm look in his eyes, there was blood bleeding from the corner of his mouth, and his breathing was a little scattered, but he was not seriously injured. But he looked quite embarrassed. Goku, you. Bulma looked at him worriedly. Dad, Uncle Piccolo, he. Goku raised his hand and patted Gohan's shoulder, showing a reassuring expression. I'll bring Piccolo back, don't worry. Whoosh. After activating the teleportation again, Goku did not return directly to the planet Samoa, but went to the Cat Immortal and asked for a fairy bean. Then returned to the planet Samoa. Bang. Poof. As expected, Piccolo was beaten very miserably, but fortunately he did not die. Goku decisively launched a Kigen wave on himself, and then ate the Senbei beans. Gilu. Potential unleashed. Sizzling. Sizzling. A bolt of lightning flashed across his eyes. Goku's hair stood on end. Violent energy surged around him, and the golden flame soared to a height of several feet at this moment, like a torch lighting up the world. Boom. The surface of the planet Samoa, seen from the universe, looks like circles of water waves spreading out. 90 million, 100 million, 200 million, 900 million. This wasn't over yet. Surrounded by golden key flames, Goku's eyes gradually became cold. He raised his hand and blasted a Kigen wave directly towards a super comet comparable to the planet Samoa. The key reason why Pegasus believes that this comet can kill several people is that the speed and size of this comet are definitely not something any life can bear. The destructive force produced by a head-on collision is enough to crush any life. However, Goku's strike was like a Star Destroyer cannon, instantly piercing the protective layer formed by the terrible impact on the surface of the comet, directly shattering it. Chapter 113. A loving father and a filial son. The pale white light covered up the light of the star on the Samoa planet. The terrible impact almost caused one side of the Samoa planet to collapse instantly, exposing the thick rock formations under the planet's surface. Broly was stunned for a moment, then threw the dying Piccolo to the ground, and looked at Goku. At this moment, the surface of the Samoa planet is clearly visible. The planet's trajectory has been affected, the crust has changed, and there are signs of falling apart. Goku's blow saved the planet Samoa, but not completely. It won't be long before the planet is estimated to have fallen into the interior of the sun due to the star's huge magnetic field and disappeared completely, even if it was not destroyed. Kakarot. 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 Goku looked at Broly, who was going crazy and was not ready to continue to struggle with him. A gleam of light flashed in his eyes, and the figure seemed to turn into golden light, appearing in front of him in an instant. Broly's eyes, which had completely lost his mind, dilated a bit, and then a look of pain appeared on his face. Whoosh. Bang. Click. Goku's fist filled with golden light hit Broly's abdomen, and the energy that was close to the dragon fist was instantly poured into Broly's body, detonating crazily. Broly looked up to the sky and roared, and terrifying green light erupted from his 7 orifices. It looked extremely terrifying, but his aura had begun to drop, visible to the naked eye. The basic combat power is 900 million. After becoming a Super Saiyan, the increase is 50 times, which is 45 billion combat power. He took a few steps back and looked at Broly's changes with an expressionless expression. Goku was surprisingly calm at this time, and even his control of ki did not seem to be lacking due to the sudden increase in strength, but was more stable than before. Goku calls this stage Super Saiyan, full power, in a true sense, the most ideal form of the first stage of Super Saiyan, while taking into account the increase, perfectly eliminates the problem of excessive loss of physical strength under the increase of Super Saiyan point. This is significant for beings who master the Super Saiyan transformation point. For Goku, this is of extraordinary significance. KO's fighting method is a unique skill that can be continuously superimposed on the basis of Super Saiyan to temporarily increase the strength, but the loss is huge. Now that the damage caused by the Super Saiyan transformation has been erased, he is sure to increase the power of KO's tactics to 30 times. Although Goku hopes for a real improvement, he does not regard KO's fighting method as his own strength, but as a unique skill to win. It is the same as Super Turtle style kicking and Dragon Fist, so he naturally doesn't care so much. More importantly, this trick still has room for improvement, as long as it reaches a certain level. Goku doesn't even need to expend energy to develop a Super Saiyan 3 to reach that level, or even a higher multiplier. This is his purpose. Kakarot, Broly, was severely injured by this blow, and was completely defeated. Ding. Defeat the legendary Super Saiyan Broly, and get potential +3. Ding. Defeat the legendary Super Saiyan Broly, and get potential value, gold, +5. Ding. Defeat the legendary Super Saiyan Broly, and get the skill, Energy Shield, which can ignore all energy attacks whose combat power does not exceed itself, and gain short-term survivability in extreme environments. Ding. Defeat the legendary Super Saiyan, and your bloodline potential will increase. His exclamation point. 5 points of golden potential. Goku's eyes changed slightly, and he was very shocked. He finally saw Broly's potential, and what he was like as a legendary Super Saiyan. There is also this energy shield. Not to mention how strong the protective ability is. It can survive in extreme environments, although it requires ki to be consumed. If Goku remembers correctly, Broly can use this move directly in the magma. Take a shower inside. There is also an increase in bloodline potential, but Goku doesn't value those 3 points of potential very much. Boom. The planet Samoa was on the verge of reaching its limit at this time. Goku did not have time to summarize the harvest, so he fished Piccolo up and found Vegeta crawling out of a desert while dying, and brought him back to Earth. Whoosh. After a while, Goku flashed on the planet Samoa again. After searching, he found Broly, who had been seriously injured and passed out. After hesitating for a moment, Goku raised his hand and took Broly away and sent him to the demon world. Broly is too strong. If he is left unchecked, he will seek revenge against him in no time. And it would be a pity to kill him. Goku seriously doubted that, even if all the universes controlled by Xeno were combined, they might not be able to find a few monsters like Broly. Although Goku will still have opponents like Perfect Cell and Majin Buu in the future, they are not enough. Far from enough. Just relying on the improvement brought by these opponents, he is not sure that he can be promoted to the height of the God of Destruction. It is no longer a quantitative change or a qualitative change, but a different dimension. To cross this dimensional gap, Goku needs a terrifyingly higher level of potential. Especially the golden potential value is the only hope he sees to overcome the dimensional gap through quantitative and qualitative changes. A few days later, Goku asked Mora to create a device to seal Broly, store it on Shura planet, and exert dark control at the same time. Goku had no idea of using this black magic trick before, because if he was weak, it would be useless. If he controlled it, and if he was stronger than himself, he couldn't control it at all. But they are perfect for dealing with monsters like Broly, who are simple-minded, extremely cruel and bloodthirsty, but have unlimited potential. This is actually a helpless move. If not, Mora will not be able to seal Broly, no matter what method she uses, and she will simply not be able to suppress the terrifying power that may go berserk at any time. Next to the huge gate to the demon world, a giant black dragon opened its vertical pupils and stared at the figure gradually approaching in front of him, sweat dripping from his forehead. Motionless. Sir, Vegeta seems to want to get your training method. He came to us to make a gravity device before, but I refused. Mirror followed Goku until they reached the gate of the demon world, but Goku didn't answer. Continued. In addition, Mora's research seems to be related to Dabra, the king of the demon world. I know. Goku waved his hand and walked towards the door of the demon world. Before leaving, he said, "It's done well. If Vegeta wants it, just tell him. The gravity device can also be made for him. It doesn't matter." Yes. After Mora arrived at Star, although Goku seemed to pay more attention to her, he ignored Mirror, whose current combat power was only over 100,000, which was far inferior to the demon dragon. Even Mora had been transformed and improved by unknown means. Has a combat power of millions, but in fact, the controller of Star is still Mirror. To be precise, she is Goku's only confidant in the demon world. She is the thread used by Goku to clamp and control Mora. Once Mora makes any overstep, Goku will kill her decisively. This woman is related to Dabra. It's obviously impossible to use it for yourself. Goku has always known this. Goku had already realized this when Mora surrendered to him easily. As for the speculation that Mora had some special feelings for him, it never occurred to Goku's mind. If we change the world, such as a villager or a sailing adventure, Goku believes that such a thing exists. But this is Dragon Ball. Although Saiyans may be a bit extreme, in fact there are many races in the universe that have no concept of family affection. The Frozen Demon Clan are not just brothers and friends, respectful to younger brothers. Fathers are kind and sons are filial. The reason why they seem to avenge each other is essentially just because the Frozen Demon Clan has been provoked and has nothing to do with family or friendship money relationship. After Frieza was resurrected, did he ever think about resurrecting his biological father and brothers? No, he just wants to grow 5 centimeters taller. Chapter 114 Talent Gap. Baozi Mountain. Goku's home. Mountains, rivers, green trees, flowing water, forest birds and various animals give this nature more vitality and life. A butterfly landed on the green leaves, like a delicate flower in bloom, and a little figure with a pacifier in its mouth staggered over. A pair of big dark eyes blinked, squatting down and staring at the butterfly. Whoa. The butterfly didn't move either until a group of ants passed by in the grass below, attracted those dark and bright eyes, and then fled in a hurry. Hoo ho ho. A few monkeys jumped and swung away from the treetops and looked back at the little figure. At this moment, boom, squeak, the huge movement was like an earthquake, startling countless birds and beasts in the entire mountain forest, and fleeing in panic. Despair, a figure appeared behind Xiaomi and picked her up. Xiaomi, please stop running around, or your mother will lose her temper again. Wow. Xiaomi started to make a fuss. She was looking intently at the ants in the grass just now. She was naturally very angry when she was interrupted. A pair of small hands kept slapping Gohan's face, and an angry expression appeared on her small face. Okay, Xiaomi. It hurts so much. Gohan was hurt from the beating, but he didn't dare to get angry, so he could only hold Xiaomi farther away. As a result, the little guy's hair stood up when he saw that he couldn't be hit. His face flushed slightly, and then a burst of anger burst out. Wow. In the distance, Goku and Piccolo, who were doing battle training, were stunned for a moment and stopped one after another. I flew to the scene and saw a somewhat funny scene. Dad, Uncle Piccolo. Gohan screamed as Xiaomi grabbed his hair and beat him. It hurt when he looked at it. Goku's eyes twitched slightly. He could only say that he was half a legendary Super Saiyan. Xiaomi was only half a year old. Gohan was probably still riding a stroller when he was this old, but Xiaomi was lucky enough to beat Gohan like a stroller when he got angry. Snort. Piccolo also brought Gohan out hand in hand. He could not see that he was being bullied. He walked over with a straight face and lifted Xiaomi up by the collar. He was a little rough, but did not hurt her. He said a lesson in front of him. Little devil, please be more honest with me, otherwise. Xiaomi was caught. Seeing that Piccolo's hands were longer, his face puffed up and he said, PFFT. The pacifier was launched directly and hit Piccolo on the head. Piccolo, this stinky brat. He's so hateful. Seeing that Piccolo's eyes were about to burst into flames, Goku could only step forward to pick up his daughter, fearing that she would make Piccolo angry. The little guy stopped fussing when he got into Goku's hands. He even snorted decently and held his chubby little hands as if he had won a battle. Haha, let's go, Gohan, go back to eat. Just come to Piccolo to practice again in the afternoon. I will take care of Xiaomi. Wow. The little guy's eyes lit up and he waved his little hands to urge Goku to go home. Dang. Although he is only half a year old, the little guy has already grown teeth and his food intake is not ambiguous at all. He can eat as much as 5 or 6 people and the number is gradually increasing. Bulma picked up the food for her daughter with a doting look on her face and wiped the soup from her face. Really, the food is all over your face. Xiaomi, you are a girl and you need to be a lady, you know. As he said this, he glanced at the father and son on the other side, who had no concern for their image. He rolled his eyes and said, you can't imitate someone else. Ahem. Goku coughed continuously and almost choked to death. I mean, right? Just wait for me. It's okay, little kid, as long as you have a good appetite. She is very open to this point, as long as he has a good appetite. Saiyans have nothing to say about this. Bulma didn't really care, he just said it casually. It was a pleasant meal. After lunch, Goku took Xiaomi and went to an open hillside to bask in the sun and take a lunch break. The warm sunshine shines on the face through the leaves and the breeze blows through the grass blades, bringing a bit of earthy smell, which is refreshing. Xiaomi stopped making trouble now. After eating, he lay down on Goku and fell asleep soundly. Goku also closed his eyes and felt the breath of nature. Host, Son Goku bloodline, Saiyan, intermediate warrior, age 24. Key, combat power 900 million, 4/15, potential value, gold. 8 skills, Super Saiyan transformation, full power, Super Turtle style kicking, Kaioken, vitality bomb, dancing sky technique, 10,000 kingdoms shocking palm, dark control, superpowers, gravity control, 20 times gravity, soul exchange, telekinesis, universe survival, devil's favor. This is a panel after his battle with Broly. What he cares most about is his qualifications. He has actually become an intermediate warrior. This is something that even Shenlong cannot do. There are also changes in potential values. Goku thought this was not a good thing at first, because the increase in the upper limit of potential points meant that it would take more time for him to accumulate it to full. This means you have to wait longer to unlock your potential ones. But that's not the case. The speed of natural recovery of potential values has not changed, but the total amount has increased. This may be a little difficult to understand, but to put it bluntly, his potential is worth 10 points, and it will take at least 5 years, or even longer, to reach full potential. The potential value of 15 points is the same, and it can be reached in at least 5 years. By analogy, it is not difficult to guess that, even if a superior warrior has a higher potential value, the overflow time will be the same. From this, it is not difficult to see how amazing Vegeta's potential is. It is no wonder that in the original work, he was surpassed by Goku again and again, and even had an explosive mentality. In the end, he was still able to catch up, and even overtaken him at one time. Just outrageous. If Goku hadn't relied on some understanding and luck to make up for it, I'm afraid he might not always be able to overpower Vegeta. It may sound a bit vague, but if you think about it carefully, Goku's growth trajectory becomes very clear. Kame Sennin, Cat Sennin, and Demigod enlighten Goku in martial arts. The KO's training, his eldest sister's training on the King's Star, and even the Super Saiyan 3 that shouldn't exist were all forced to get him stuck in the underworld. Only then did he barely surpass Vegeta in terms of ultimate combat power. In fact, in the BUU chapter, Goku and Vegeta are already on the same level, and the gap is very small, almost negligible. What about Vegeta? Once I looked back, I wasted a few years, and ended up relying on my head, and adding gravity chamber to hard lever, and just relying on my talent to catch up, without any training Inky or guidance from the king of the realm. I just relied on a single obsession, and it was over. If the two people's growth trajectory is a marathon, then Goku can be said to have all kinds of props. In the middle, there are people delivering supplies, adding buffs, and even dragging and pulling, but he lacks technology. Vegeta, on the other hand, had nothing to do and just ran. The final result was that the two of them reached the finish line almost at the same time. It's just so outrageous. The difference between those with talent and those without talent is so unreasonable. Just like Broly, it's even more unreasonable. There is still a long way to go. First, let's see if there is a chance for talent to be on par with Vegeta. Chapter 115, The Android Duo. 2 years have flown by, and 4 years have passed since Frieza's chapter, and now that the time has come for the emergence of artificial humans, Goku has never thought of taking action in advance to scare the snake, change history or anything, because he doesn't know what impact this will have. For now, because he accidentally flapped his wings, too much has changed. Even things in parallel time and space have changed. There may even be another parallel time and space, so Goku has been living according to the trajectory of the original work for the past 2 years, spending time with his family, and living a happy life. The improvement in basic strength is not that big. Goku feels that he may have hit some kind of Saiyan bottleneck, but his potential has still increased by 4 points. The improvement is actually not small. On the other hand, Gohan was actually able to become a Super Saiyan 2 years ago, but Goku never urged him, and instead allowed him to continue to accumulate potential. To this day, Goku isn't sure what Gohan's potential is. Piccolo also has steady progress in strength. Unlike Saiyans, his potential can be quickly released directly through training. After fusion with Naru, his combat potential has skyrocketed. Now, his strength is comparable to that of Goku 3 years ago, and is not inferior to that of a Super Saiyan. You should be careful and come back early. You can take this bento with you on the way, Gohan. She kept nagging for a long time. Goku had a headache and pushed Gohan over after finally waiting for Bulma to finish speaking. Goku, Piccolo and Gohan flew to the island where the androids were spawned. Really, Mom is getting more and more nagging. Gohan also had a grimace on his face. He didn't dare to say such things in front of Shishi. Flying all the way to their destination, the three of them met Klin halfway. This is a small island with a large population and a town on it. After arriving at the destination, Chaiyan, Jinfan and Yamcha also arrived one after another. At this point, the super warriors on the earth have basically gathered together. Although they are here to collect or give away people's heads, they represent the pinnacle of martial arts on the earth. If the time is right and you have ideas, you might not be able to become the god of martial arts like Kame Sennin in the future. Well, actually only Chaiyan Jinrice has that potential. To be honest, I actually didn't want to come here at all. Yamcha scratched his head and expressed his feelings with a slight embarrassment. The others did not speak and looked silent. He is a monk halfway, and Yamcha himself is not a steady character. After realizing the gap between the Earth and Goku and others, he naturally understands the reality of the gap. It is not difficult to tell from his expression that Klin actually has similar thoughts. Their ideas are closer to those of ordinary people on Earth, but they happen to be in the same era as Goku, and there are a series of dangers, so they force themselves to practice step by step. Goku didn't say anything. It is almost certain that Yamcha will not be able to persist in the future. At most, he will occasionally practice on a whim to maintain his identity as a martial arts master. 3 years ago, Yamcha's strength was close to 10,000. After all, he had walked the same path that Goku had walked, and he had also trained with the King of K. But now it can only barely reach the level of 10,000. On the other hand, Chaiyan Jinfan, although he did not have the potential to be developed by the Great Elder of Namek, he has now reached a combat power of 30,000 by relying on his own practice. However, this time he was worried, so he did not bring dumplings with him. Klen's strength is similar slightly higher than Saiyan fan, but not much point. The real race of Saiyan fans is the three-eyed star people, and they can be considered to have blood talents that are slightly different from those on Earth. Suddenly, Piccolo suddenly looked up to the sky, and other people's eyes followed him. Boom. Suddenly, a passing plane exploded in the sky, and two black shadows flashed across the sky. A cold light flashed in Goku's eyes, and two rocks were shot over like cannonballs. Afraid, huh? Androids number 20 and 19 turned their heads sideways and were hit by stones, exposing part of their internal circuits on their faces. When he looked up again, Goku and others were already surrounding him. No 20, who looked the same as Dr. Gallo, looked at Goku and said in a calm tone, "Son Goku, I never thought we would meet again. I should be the one who is surprised. If I remember correctly, I should have killed you completely." Goku would not let down his guard so naively. He was just a little curious as to why the other party was still alive. Gallo did not hide it, but directly took off the hat on his head, revealing a brain in a glass container under the cold eyes of several people. He sneered and said, "You have indeed killed my body, but my brain is still alive, and it's thanks to you that I made up my mind to abandon my frail body and gain eternal life." Speaking of which, I should thank you, son Goku. You're welcome, because Goku nodded, as if communicating with the other party in a friendly manner. Boom. Suddenly, Goku stepped forward and cut off one of Dr. Gallo's arms with one punch. With Dr. Gallo's horrified eyes, his tone was cold and he said, "I will send you back to the West right away." Is this the power of a Super Saiyan? It's amazing. But, no 19. Cover me and leave. No. 20 can only be said to be a masterpiece transformed by Dr. Gallo himself. The response and vigilance are very high. Realizing the terror of Goku, he immediately called number 19 beside him for help. Number 19 didn't know what the situation was. He felt like a pure artificial human, and raised a hand to aim at Goku without hesitation. Diddy. Boom. A burst of energy was fired, and the explosion stirred up a large amount of smoke. But in the next moment, Goku's hand came out of the dust, grabbed number 19 in front of him, and pulled his arm off. Before Dr. Gallo could escape, he found that number 19 had been severely injured. He was so shocked that he launched an attack without hesitation. His eyes released lasers to hit the city below. Hateful, Saiyan fan, Krillin and others became angry. Piccolo and Gohan also took action decisively, directly blasting Dr. Gallo with shockingly lethal kicken. Goku frowned, but he forgot to tell everyone that these two androids were not number 17 and 18, so they were different. He never wanted the historical trajectory to deviate too much, otherwise it would be very troublesome, so he forgot about it. Sure enough, Dr. Gallo directly raised his other intact arm, revealing the energy absorption device in his palm, which directly absorbed everyone's energy. At that moment, Goku felt Dr. Gallo's energy surge sharply. It soared directly from 400 million to 500 million, a huge increase. Bus drive. Gallo immediately concentrated all the energy in his palms, pointed at the city below, and said sternly, "Son Goku, if you don't want to see everyone below buried together, stop immediately." Goku, who was about to completely scrap number 19, stopped and his eyes narrowed slightly. Hehe. Upon seeing this, number 19 rushed towards Goku recklessly, raising his hand to absorb his energy, but Goku just looked coldly. The next moment, there was just a click, and no 19's remaining arm was instantly broken, and his head was instantly blasted into the body by an invisible force. Then it was directly squeezed into a pile of scrap metal by telekinesis, and fell far away. In the wilderness. Instant kill. Son Goku, you don't mess around. You are forcing me to kill everyone below, and it will be you who killed them. Dr. Gallo's heart was frightened, his expression was fierce, and he felt an unprecedented fear enveloped his heart. He has already died once, so he doesn't want to die again, especially when facing Goku, who actually has a shadow. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 116 Gallo escapes. Goku, don't be impulsive. Klin and others were a little panicked when they saw this. These were living people in the city. If they died in front of their eyes, they would not be able to bear it. Seeing this, Piccolo frowned. If it were before, he wouldn't mind being this villain point, but now, not to mention that Gohan is here, even if he is allowed to make a decision alone, it will be difficult for him to do it point. So Piccolo also hesitated a little. Old Sunday Dad, Goku, seeing that the others were a little shaken, Dr. Gallo showed a successful smile. The energy in his hand was still ready to be launched at any time, and then he fell directly towards the city below. If you make a move, I will be able to sense your movements, so you'd better be quiet when you walk away with your tail between your legs. Goku watched him run away with cold eyes, showing no intention of taking action. He even crossed his arms and looked down from above. He was as if he were looking at an ant that could be crushed to death at any time without any trouble. But these words and gestures made Dr. Gallo feel more humiliated than ever. Damn it, son Goku. Wait for me. I miscalculated this time. As long as number 17 and number 18 are resurrected, you will definitely die miserably. When the time comes, I will definitely return this shame to you 1,000 times over. Almost breaking his steel teeth, Dr. Gallo disappeared directly into the town with full of anger and humiliation, and then quickly blended into the crowd. Because of Goku's threat, he did not dare to take action, but just swerved left and right at an extremely fast speed. Rush and finally disappear into the crowd. But at this moment, a huge Kigen bomb fell from the sky, and energy fluctuations that destroyed the world came, and everyone was shocked. When he raised his head, he saw that this attack had taken in all the people in the city below. Bang, boom, boom. Goku raised his hand and knocked the huge attack away, exploding in the sky. For a moment, the entire sky burst into bright light. Even the brilliance of the sun was swallowed up. Snort. An arrogant figure appeared in the sky, and Klin and others looked ugly. Vegeta, do you want to kill us too? What about it? A group of music leaving will only hinder your feet. Vegeta exposed the cold blood and was full of stun. You, Krillin, Saiyan, Jinfan, Yamcha and others suddenly became angry. These words were not just theirs. Piccolo's face also darkened, and even Gohan frowned. These words were really too much. Goku glanced at Vegeta. At this time, Vegeta was already in a Super Saiyan posture, the same as before, just to show off and be flashy. I don't know, but I thought this guy went directly from Super Saiyan to full power in 3 years. The power of Super Saiyan transformation is increased by a full 50 times, and you can imagine how much it consumes with your toes anyway. Goku definitely wouldn't be able to transform casually with such luxury before reaching full power, especially in a non-combat state. Vegeta immediately cast his gaze directly on Goku and said provocatively, Kakarot, if that thing just now is an android, don't worry about it. It's no longer worth killing. Transform. Today I want to show you who is the strongest Super Saiyan. Taking a deep breath, Goku could bear it just now. He knew Vegeta was arrogant, but he didn't dare to classify him as a weak person or a lecherous person. But at this moment, Vegeta's challenge to him made him unable to bear it. No. Where did you get the courage? Did Broly give you a gentle beating? Didn't he wake you up or something? No, bro. Your face was swollen at that time. After 2 years of training, the Super Saiyan form still doesn't even have a combat power of 1 billion. Are you here to challenge me? Goku seriously doubts that he can give himself any more potential. Sighing, Goku looked at the other people and finally at Piccolo and Gohan, exchanged glances, then pointed in another direction and said, everyone, go search. That's where Gallo went. He's out of breath. Everyone, try your best to search. He was stunned for a moment, his eyes showing a bit of speechlessness. Gohan seemed to have sensed something and blinked. Goku raised his forehead and said, go find Bulma over there and tell him the news that the reformed person is Dr. Gallo. Trunks is also here. Wait for me. After you meet them, I will solve it soon. Snort. The others followed the instructions and left, still looking at Vegeta with a somewhat unkind look. After all, even if Yamcha had already thought about giving up martial arts, He couldn't bear to have someone look down on him so much. This was not a slight, but an insult. When Krillin left, he directly said to Goku, "Goku, teach this guy a lesson." Waving his hand, Goku pointed to the distance and said to Vegeta, "Go over there, you should know the rules." Snort. Then, the two flew directly over, and there was no suspense about the battle. It was just the difference between Vegeta's mentality collapsing or exploding. That's all. As for the rules, if Vegeta's mentality is unbalanced and directly destroys the earth, Goku will have to consider adopting Trunks. The words were divided, and after Gohan and others separated from Goku, it didn't take long for them to find Bulma and Trunks arriving. Gohan. Everyone. From a distance, Bulma was flying the plane while extending his hand to wave, which made everyone break out in cold sweat. However, Gohan knew that Bulma was actually able to perform air dance, so he was not too nervous. However, when he saw another figure in the plane, he froze in midair with a stiff face. Piccolo also stopped moving forward. After a lot of mental struggle, they leaned over Bulma, parked the plane directly on an isolated island, and joined everyone. After taking the helicopter back to the Universal Capsule, Bulma walked towards the crowd and looked at Gohan strangely. "Where's Goku? Why didn't he come with you?" "Bulma, Goku is fighting Vegeta. He said he would come and join us later. In addition, he asked us to tell you that the android is not the one who was supposed to appear, but Dr. Gallo." "Why?" Bulma looked confused by Klin's words, and said displeasedly, What on earth are you talking about? What do you mean? He is not the one who was supposed to be there. And Dr. Gallo, he hasn't been there for many years. Did he die before?" "Yes." "Oh, it's just Krillin almost fainted, and the others didn't know how to explain it for a while." Xiaomi next to Bulma walked up to Gohan at this time, showing his small white teeth. The little girl turned 2 years old in the blink of an eye, and she didn't know if it was because of her Saiyan blood or because of her super talent. Even if she doesn't go berserk and enter the super state, she has learned how to use ki from Goku early and even has good fighting power. But Gohan was a little afraid of her. He almost had a shadow and hid when he saw her looking at the two little guys chasing and escaping. The atmosphere was somewhat joyful, except for Trunks, who looked solemn at this time. Chapter 117. Already honest. Who? Bo. At this moment, another figure suddenly walked out from behind Bulma. It was Violet, who had not appeared for a long time. She chewed gum and said, "I should know something. Gallo has been secretly researching artificial humans these years, and he has transformed himself. Right? Yes, it is said that the strongest artificial beings he secretly researched are number 17 and number 18. He transformed himself into number 20. Did you also meet a fat man? That is number 19. Right, that's right." Violet nodded. Her thinking was quite clear, and she was very familiar with Dr. Gallo's research. As everyone knows, Dr. Gallo is hiding in the shadow of this isolated island at this moment. Goku pointed in the right direction, and he did escape to this direction. After observing secretly for a moment, I realized that Goku and Vegeta were not there, and I already had the idea of taking action, especially after seeing Violet. That guy. I should have known that I shouldn't have used the research results on this woman. I didn't expect that a defective product could reach this point. It was a miscalculation. Violet was his first work when he began to use a human body as the target of transformation to study artificial humans, and it had many imperfections. But what he didn't expect was that Violet's growth potential was astonishingly high. After years of observation, he has been trying every means to recycle Violet and re-extract experimental data, but the results are not that smooth. Violet is very smart and has been playing games with him, and even continued to steal many of his results and whereabouts, which once made him. Dr. Gallo was very passive. The reason why Violet appears here this time is actually because she has been in contact with Bulma for many years. In addition, I learned that the artificial man incident was related to Dr. Gallo, so I took the initiative to follow him. Suddenly, Piccolo seemed to notice something, and his eyes swept over him. Dr. Gallo was so shocked that he hurriedly hid. "Piccolo? What's wrong?" "Nothing." Piccolo shook his head. Combining the information provided by Violet and the clues provided by Trunks, He quickly figured out the current situation and immediately formulated a basic plan. That is, Dr. Gallo has a research institute is nearby, right? As long as we find that research institute, we have a high chance of finding the androids 17 and 18 you mentioned, the guys who killed us in your future world. Well, I think it should be like this. Trunks didn't feel anything was wrong. He just felt that Piccolo was just like what Aunt Bulma introduced him to him. He was indeed a very reliable person. Then, what should we do next? Go to Gallo's research institute? Or wait here for Goku to come? Bulma asked. Whoosh. At this moment, other people's eyes moved, and Goku had appeared next to Bulma. Dad. Xiaomi, who was chasing Gohan, immediately brightened up and flew towards him. He was caught by Goku and smiled. Why are you all here? Didn't I tell you to stay well? I can't help it. Xiaomi is making a big fuss and has to come over. Really? Goku glanced at Bulma, who averted his eyes with a guilty conscience. You are using your daughter as a shield, yet I still don't understand you. Even if Xiaomi doesn't come, Bulma probably won't miss this opportunity to join in the fun. After asking, Goku understood the current situation and immediately asked Violet to lead the way, preparing to go to Dr. Gallo's research institute. Along the way, Bulma can fly by himself, but he has to be held by Goku. Fortunately, Xiaomi can fly by himself, but he is not very honest. One moment they ran over to pat Saiyan Fan's bald head, and the next moment they pulled Piccolo's cloak. A group of people were afraid that the little girl might fall accidentally, so they all stared at her. Goku almost laughed. Although Xiaomi is still young and has not fully awakened to the super physique, his learning ability and talent have begun to show. His personality is similar to that of Bulma, and his understanding is not bad. Otherwise it would not be possible for him to learn to control ki at the age of 2 and directly learn the air dance technique. By the way, Goku, where's Vegeta? Krillin suddenly remembered this and asked. I asked him to calm down, and he should be chasing after him now. Goku shook his head. Vegeta's strength has improved in the past 2 years. After his transformation, he has been able to reach the level of 700 to 800 million combat power. Unfortunately, it can only reach this point. So far, Vegeta has relied purely on squeezing his own potential in exchange for power, and has never practiced practice in the true sense. He was too anxious. Trunks' expression was a little complicated. Although his mother had changed from Bulma to Tace in another time and space, his father had not changed and was still Vegeta. He had only heard everything about Vegeta. At the same time, Dr. Gallo ran wildly on the ground and rushed to his research institute as quickly as possible. That hateful woman Violet. The exposure of the institute drove Dr. Gallo almost crazy. In the sky, everyone was flying faster, and Violet also provided a lot of information. Along the way, more than one place. Yes, Violet's eyes were very calm, and she continued to explain. Drive Gallo has secretly built many research institutes over the years. Most of them are fake. I have been to them all, but there are 2 that I'm not sure of the exact location. I can only know. Probably the core research institute. I think the artificial humans he studies should be in these 2 places. 2 places. Everyone was lost in thought, and no one spoke first. Clin and the others knew that if they encountered an android alone, they would not have much chance of winning, and they would not even be able to escape from Dr. Gallo's hands at most. It serves as an early warning. At this time, Bulma asked Violet for the coordinates of 2 locations. Gohan, you go over there with Piccolo and everyone. Goku suddenly smiled and said to Gohan, yeah, got it, Dad. Gohan's eyes were determined, and his training in the past 2 years was not in vain. Among all the people here, even if he really encountered androids 17 and 18, he and Piccolo would win if they teamed up, and it would not be a big problem to escape intact. What's more, there is Trunks, followed by Vegeta. Having just been beaten, Vegeta had no reason to continue to look for him. This would be equivalent to the fighting power of 4 Super Saiyans. As long as Vegeta doesn't twitch, the situation is basically under control. Moreover, the mission of number 17 and number 18 is to kill themselves, and they will not kill others so quickly. Just in case. Goku glanced at Violet and suddenly raised his hand. Golden air appeared in his hand. The terrible air instantly made everyone feel huge pressure, and a wave of air almost spread out to the entire Earth's surface with him as the center. Come point bus, the golden flames gradually spread to Zhao, and it took a moment for her to be completely assimilated. There was a faint purple light on the surface of her body, and her eyes were shining, mixed with dazzling purple lightning. Goku showed a look of surprise, and stopped his energy flow. Violet is also an artificial human, and his ability is that he can rely on upward compatibility to improve his own strength. Goku is surprised that Violet's ability, which sounds very buggy in itself, has such a high upper limit. Before on Namek, he thought that Violet's upper limit should be several million, which was amazing enough. Unexpectedly, he directly instilled the power of Super Saiyan, and Violet could still withstand it. And it seems that the speed of assimilation is faster. Violet gave her a wink and said happily, "Boomer and I are best friends. She won't be angry if you do this, right? Why? Does this sound like tea?" Others look at their eyes, nose and heart, and cannot see anything. Bulma was not someone to be trifled with. A button-like device appeared in his hand and he smiled and said, "Ah, that's right. How could I be angry, Violet? If you have something to say, please be honest." Chapter 118 Android 16, 17, and 18. It was impossible for Violet not to be depressed. Although she had been investigating Dr. Gallo these years, she was a colonel of the Red Ribbon Corps before, so she naturally did not want to be restrained after leaving Point. But every time Bulma used this to threaten her, Violet had no choice but to obey Point. When he helped her dismantle the self-destruction device in her body, Bulma left some backup point originally. Bulma didn't have so many thoughts, but because Violet always approached Goku intentionally or unintentionally, Bulma was wary. Sure enough, you can't mess with women. Violet got part of Goku's energy, and her strength increased dramatically, which gave her some protection. Then everyone divided into two groups. Bulma, Goku, and Xiaomi went to another research institute of Dr. Gallo. The others went to their destination according to the original plan, to intercept Dr. Gallo. The plan was perfect until Goku came to the vicinity of another research institute and directly used his mind power to search. He got an unexpected harvest. This is Goku and Bulma found a time machine covered with plants in a valley that was already covered by plants. They erased the lichen on the surface and revealed the logo of the Universal Capsule Company. It's this developed by our Universal Capsule. It should have been developed by you in the future, Goku said, looking at the broken glass of the time machine. Some traces of corrosion and damage by unknown substances can also be seen inside. Cell from the future time and space is still here. It is a future even more desperate than Trunks' return. Even Trunks, the last hope, has disappeared in time and space, leaving only Bulma alone. Goku felt a little heavy, and could only say, "Take the things back first and study them carefully. You should be able to develop a time machine." Bulma had not experienced those despairs. At this time, he looked at the time machine in front of him with interest and said, "My father has not researched such a thing as a time machine. Didn't you think that I would research it in the future?" Immediately, the two turned the time machine into a universal capsule and put it away. The products of Universal Capsule Company, no matter what they are basically equipped with this function, which is regarded as a bonus. Although a time machine has not been developed, the Universal Capsule developed by Dr. Brive is no less than the time machine research, and is more widely used. This is an extremely sophisticated space compression technology. Afterwards, Goku and Bulma searched in the nearby mountains and forests, and soon found Dr. Gallo's most hidden research institute, and found Cell, who was still in an embryonic state. Although the cycle in the future will definitely not be repeated because of his research, two entire parallel time and spaces were created directly or indirectly, of course, if this matter is known to the god of destruction Beerus and Angel Whis. There is a high probability that the Earth will be destroyed directly together, and he will not care about the main or secondary reasons. Boom. Directly destroying Cell's embryo. Goku left here with Bulma and Xiaomi. His eyes scanned the surroundings, and even if he let go of his senses, he didn't find Cell's anger as the ultimate artificial human. Cell has many insect characteristics, as well as many martial arts masters. Data and cells He can hide his own energy and cannot rely on energy to lock his position point at this moment. Goku noticed a sudden increase in Vegeta's energy, as well as Gohan, Piccolo, and Trunks. Apparently number 17 and number 18 have been found, and may even be fighting each other. After thinking about it, Goku teleported over and rushed over. Drink, boom. Boom boom boom. Goku, who had just arrived, heard Vegeta roaring at the top of his lungs, and then the air around him vibrated. Vegeta's standard princess tactics came back again. Ugh, Zaromi was startled and turned her head to look over with her hands on her hips, but one of her hands was still holding Goku's hair. Both timid and fun-loving are shown vividly. Goku handed her over to Bulma to hold. Then he flashed to Krillin and others in the distance and looked at the battlefield. Goku, you're finally here. Great. Well, what's going on now? Goku didn't notice the situation for a moment. Piccolo and Gohan teamed up to fight with number 17. The outcome was still unclear, but number 17 was obviously having fun and seemed to be at ease. And number 18 faced off against Vegeta. It's not accurate to say that. It should be Vegeta versus number 18 and Trunks. Vegeta, Trunks, didn't want to reveal his identity, but the moment he rushed to help, Vegeta directly blasted him away with a Kigen bomb. Get away. I'll deal with her myself. Drink. As he spoke, another unorganized Kigen wave hit number 18, stirring up large amounts of dust and thick smoke. It's a pity that there is no harm in smoking. The figure number 18 rushed out of the smoke screen. With her beautiful appearance and short golden hair, she was worthy of being the first goddess in Dragon Ball. Her fighting style had a unique charm. Bang. Haha. Vegeta's eyes became clear after being hit by one blow, and he almost lost consciousness while holding his stomach. Goku shook his head. Judging from the performance of androids 17 and 18, the combat power should be close to 2 billion, but it is not even close to that. It is estimated to be between 1.8 and 1.9 billion. There is not much difference between the two. They are stronger than ordinary Super Saiyans, but they are not unable to fight. Vegeta also has a combat power of 90,000. Even if he loses, he shouldn't be beaten like this by number 18 with a playful attitude, almost rolling over him. After all, Vegeta is somewhat similar to Gohan during Frieza's time. His mentality did not enter the rhythm of martial artist, and the pride in his heart made him never calmly think about how to fight. In his opinion, Saiyans are a natural fighting race and are born to fight. However, what Goku wants to say is that it is the legendary Super Saiyan. Saiyans in general, especially Saiyans during the period of King Vegeta, are more like beasts than a fighting race. Bloodlust and bellicosity are two different things. Vegeta obviously hasn't figured this out yet. Piccolo and Gohan faced off against number 17. Although there was a gap in combat effectiveness, they actually did not show signs of defeat. This was also true for number 17, who had started to take it seriously. Violet, who was staring at number 16, walked over to Goku and said with a relaxed expression, "My mission is completed. You are the only ones left." She was about to slack off in her work, but Bulma took out the remote control again and waved it in front of her eyes. Her chest rose and fell slightly, and a hint of cunning flashed through her narrow violet eyes. No. 16, who was originally smiling, seemed to have the detector reacting and locked the direction of Goku. His face was cold and the birds around him also flew away. Son Goku, the Saiyan who is the number 1 target to kill and destroy the Red Ribbon Legion. The trick he is good at using is turtle style kicking. Energy. Warning. Warning. Danger. Danger. At this time, number 18, who had finished torturing Vegeta and grabbed Vegeta's hair to humiliate him, also sensed something was wrong. However, she was not as cautious as number 16, but suddenly raised her hand and hit Goku with a wave. In area G *SGI in area at boom bang bang. He jumped back to number 16, looked solemnly in the direction of Goku and asked, "No 16, is he Son Goku?" The target similarity is 99%. The identity is confirmed to be Son Goku. The energy cannot be monitored. It is extremely dangerous. What should we do? It is recommended to avoid it. Number 16 said honestly, "You and number 17 leave quickly. I will try my best to buy some time." You know. 18 frowned. She didn't expect that this guy in front of her, who she had never heard of before and looked like a good guy after waking up, would take the initiative to stay and delay point, but there was not much he could do at this time. Number 18 looked at number 17, who was still fighting fiercely, and shouted, "No 17. Come back." Chapter 119 Cornerstone. TSK. No. 17 forced Piccolo and Gohan back with a Kigen wave, and then retreated directly. Gohan still wanted to chase him, but was stopped by Piccolo. He looked at the other two androids in the distance with fear. Piccolo was very calm, and knew that he was no match for the two androids in front of him. After the dust dispersed, Violet patted the dust on her body, and closed the surrounding energy barrier. Goku was holding Xiaomi, with a cold light flashing in his eyes. But if he wants to take action, none of the three artificial humans here can escape. However, Dr. Gallo is dead now, and the three of them have no intention of destroying the Earth. It would be unjustifiable to kill him directly. Mr. Son Goku, they are the future androids number 17 and 18. Trunks flew over and looked at the two androids with hatred and anger in his eyes, still silent. At this moment, a tall and muscular figure suddenly rushed over and punched Goku point bang, but he was blocked by Violet. The aftermath of the violent attack shook the surrounding air, and Violet smiled. "You must be Dr. Gallo's son, right? Gallo is really capable of killing. I'm number 16, an android created by Dr. Gallo to kill Son Goku." "No," 16 said meticulously, and then continued to fight Violet. At the same time, the computer in the body began to work. "I know you, Colonel Violet, who once served in the Red Ribbon Legion. Now you have rebelled, and you are also one of the targets to kill." Bang. Bang bang. After receiving part of Goku's energy, Violet's strength has reached close to 2 billion, but when fighting number 16, she only has a slight upper hand, and has no guarantee of victory. Even so, Trunks was shocked. He didn't know how so many unfamiliar androids suddenly appeared, but he could tell that number 16 was a monster no less than the other two androids. Number 16, just when everyone's attention was attracted by the duel between number 16 and Violet, android number 17 and number 18 flew high into the sky at some point, and everyone subconsciously looked up. Goku raised his hand to cover Xiaomi and Bulma's eyes, but a bright light burst out, and everyone who looked up subconsciously seemed to have their eyes melted, stinging unbearably, and instantly lost their vision. Oops, damn it, I fell into a trap. Careful, everyone lost their vision instantly. When they recovered, the three androids had already slipped away. Violet turned around and spread her hands, seemingly unaffected by the sun fist. Goku sighed a little. "Why do you know this trick?" "In the past, he used this trick to trick others, but now it's better. Everyone seems to know this trick. Fortunately, he has been prepared since the last time, so he didn't fall for it. Apart from anything else, this trick is really disgusting. No matter how strong you are, I just want to control you and interrupt you. Hateful." Vegeta flew away in a mixture of grief and anger. It seemed that his mentality had collapsed again. Trunks had a complicated expression and seemed hesitant to speak. Goku raised his hand and patted his shoulder and said, "Go and tell Vegeta to wait at the Celestial Temple. I know a good place for him to become stronger. He is too impatient." "Goku, are you talking about the spiritual time room?" Clin and others all know about the existence of the spiritual time room, which is also one of the several practice locations on the Temple of Heaven. Vegeta is now at a very critical stage. Once he gets there, it's easy to say, with his talent, he will definitely be able to reach a higher level point. If he can't get over it, then there's nothing Goku can do, and Vegeta should be completely destroyed. No one can bear to have his mentality explode once every 3 days. "Yes, thank you, Mr. Son Goku," Trunks said respectfully, then turned around and flew away. Goku then asked others to go to the Celestial Temple. "I will go there with Gohan after I send Bulma home." The others didn't talk nonsense and set off directly. Halfway through the flight, Clint suddenly realized something. "Why don't we let Goku teleport directly there?" Everyone, "What you said makes sense. I don't know how to answer it." The group of people, including Piccolo, were silent. At the same time, Goku on the other side did not go to the Temple of Heaven immediately after sending Bulma and Xiaomi home. Instead, he found the fortune teller. "You guys are always looking for trouble for me, an old woman. It's really the fortune teller complained, but she still helped Goku divine Shalu's location point at this time. Shalu is on an island absorbing ordinary people on it to obtain energy, thereby improving his own strength and preparing for the subsequent absorption of number 17 and 18. It is worth mentioning that in this moment, he had already met 3 escaping androids. As a result, he couldn't beat number 17 and number 18, let alone number 16, who was even stronger. This made Cell very confused. He should obviously be stronger than those 2 androids, otherwise how could he absorb them and become the strongest ultimate android? Dr. Gallo's design should be like this. Poof, Gillu. The target's flesh and bones were absorbed directly through the tail, leaving only a piece of cloth on the ground. Salulo fell into deep thought. Whoosh, it's really disgusting. What's going on in Dr. Gallo's mind to create a monster like you? What? HMM. Cell in the first stage had many characteristics of insects, but at this moment his face was twisted violently, green juice spurted out from his mouth, and he was almost incapable of fighting after being punched by Goku. You are Son Goku. How is this possible? Cell backed away repeatedly and finally half knelt on the ground. A pair of strange insect eyes shrank into needle points, looking at Goku in disbelief. Goku's face was expressionless, and a key formed in his hand. Bus, ding, defeat the first form of Cell, and get the potential value +1, the energy in his hand dissipated. Goku looked at Cell in front of him and said calmly, go after number 17 and number 18. You can't kill ordinary people and destroy the earth, otherwise, boom. Originally, he breathed a sigh of relief when he saw the energy dissipating in Goku's hand. There was a bit of viciousness mixed with fear in his eyes, and he had already begun to plan his escape, and even how to get revenge on Goku after he evolved. But the next moment, Goku fired a Kigen wave without any warning, destroying half of Cell's body. This caught Shalu unexpectedly, and was severely injured in an instant. Escape. Must escape. It seems that it stimulated Sharu's survival instinct and stress response as an insect, and it may also contain a large number of complex cells. Shalu's ki doubled in the moment his body was repaired. He possesses both the powerful vitality of the Namekians and the passivity of the Saiyans. Immediately afterwards, Shalu raised his hands decisively, and after a sun punch, he ran away directly, and his energy disappeared completely. Goku had expected it, so naturally he would not be hit. He slowly flew into the air and frowned slightly, sensing the direction Cell was leaving. The reason why he came here, to give a warning, was to prevent Cell from killing too many people on Earth at once. In that case, he would definitely go find the Dragon Balls. It would even be more troublesome to kill some people. It would be inappropriate for him to look for the Dragon Balls, and it would also be inappropriate not to look for them. After all, he couldn't go looking for the Dragon Balls every time a few people died. He wasn't sure if there would be any problems if these Dragon Balls made too many wishes, and if a few people on Earth are resurrected after death. Even if evil dragons don't breed, other problems may arise. As for killing Shalu in advance, he would not do that. Before Shalu was completely intact, there was no threat to him. On the contrary, Cell is one of his targets that can bring a lot of potential value at this stage, and is the cornerstone for his further improvement. The next one is Majin Buu, and he has to wait for a full 7 years. Then the God of Destruction, a target and opponent beyond dimensions, appeared. There is not much time and opportunity left for Goku to accumulate knowledge. Naturally, he cannot let it go easily. For this reason, he did not even kill Broly. Chapter 120, Upgrading the Chip. Wanting to challenge God is a difficult and necessary thing for Goku. Before that, he needs to accumulate a deep foundation to climb to that level and gain power that can rival God. Cell and Majin Buu are one of the important cornerstones for him to enter the realm of gods. Soon Goku sensed Cell's movements through telekinesis. Cell cannot be locked with ki. He also has the characteristics of an artificial human, plus the cells of many martial artists and creatures, which makes him very special. But as long as you are active, you will always leave some traces. The ability to think is not just as simple as being able to directly control objects from a distance. It is itself a superpower that is activated using mental thoughts. Goku has developed a few abilities with special uses over the years, but other abilities do not have this treatment point. Whoosh, the next moment, Goku disappeared. Cell had Piccolo's calmness and Vegeta's cruelty and coldness, so he is just frightened at the moment, and he may not necessarily do what Goku says. He may only go more crazy to kill and absorb the people of the Earth. Soon after, Goku intercepted Cell and seriously injured him again, but did not kill him. Like a cat and mouse game, Goku kept ravaging Cell with an absolute rolling attitude, until Cell realized this, and gradually went crazy. Damn it. Son Goku. Kill me if you can. Drink, bang, bang, puff. Cell also tried to resist desperately, but the result did not change. The fighting power was 980 million, and the Super Saiyan form was 49 billion. This combat power represents the full power of Super Saiyan, and the target is Cell's complete body. Even though Cherish has extremely high potential, before he got the data of number 17 and number 18, he was never perfect and his potential was limited. After several serious injuries, his combat power soared to an astonishing 2.5 billion, but that was all. Still vulnerable to Goku. I don't know how many times Shalu was severely injured. Shalu finally felt fear and began to run away. Monster. This guy Son Goku is a complete monster. The intelligence collected by that guy Dr. Gallo is not accurate at all. Damn it. No, Son Goku should have died long ago. Is it because of time and space, or is it because my arrival has affected history? Goku's patience was running out, and he chased Cell for more than 10 minutes. Seeing Cherish fleeing into a deep mountain, he still refused to give up, and was ready to let him experience an unprecedented painful lesson. Boom. However, when Goku chased Cell, he discovered that this place turned out to be a research institute left by Dr. Gallo. Cherish seemed to be activating something at this time. Several experimental cabins that looked like they had not been opened for many years were opened, revealing several figures of different heights. He also has the unique symbol of the Red Ribbon Legion. Androids 13, 14, and 15. This is an iterative version that Dr. Gallo studied after the 11th. It has reached the technology of eternal energy and is capable of fusion. Damn it. What kind of monster are you? At this time, Cherish crushed number 14 and number 15 without hesitation, took out their chips and energy reactors, and threw them directly to number 13. He said coldly, Son Goku has already come to kill you. I'll stop him. Go ahead. What? Although number 13 was shocked, he turned around and saw Goku standing outside the research institute. As the words and data in his eyes jumped, number 13 directly fused the chips of the other two androids and began to transform. This generation of artificial humans is not a failure. The only shortcoming is that its strength has not yet reached Dr. Gallo's expectations, so he will continue to develop the follow-up number 16, 17, and 18. But unfortunately, number 17 and number 18, who were too powerful, lost control and became what Gallo called defective products. Boom. Goku looked at the mountains that were instantly flattened to the ground, with flying sand and rocks and thick smoke billowing. With no emotion on his face, he flew into the air and noticed that Shalu, who had already taken advantage of the chaos to escape, did not continue to pursue him. This guy in front of him was already an unexpected surprise. Android 13 has a combat power of 2.5 billion. Son Goku, android number 13 completed the transformation after absorbing the other two androids, turning into a blue monster with a hairstyle similar to Vegeta's, and rushed forward with an astonishing momentum. Call out. Goku said nothing. A golden flame rose up, then gradually condensed in his right hand, and punched out. If you can do it, there will be no competition. Boom. Android number 13. One blow, instant kill. Ding. Kill Cyborg number 13 and gain potential +1. Ding. Kill android number 13 and get S-type android upgrade chip +1. Just a little? Goku frowned a little. This kind of combat power was not low, but he soon figured it out. After all, it was just a transitional version, and the final form only had 2.5 billion combat power. After a brief sense, Goku could no longer find Cell. This guy had been running away for a while and seemed to have gradually adapted to it and began to counter his telekinesis. The adaptability is quite terrifying. After closing his eyes for a moment, Goku snorted and disappeared. Forget it. The worst case scenario is to use the Dragon Ball to resurrect him once, and continuing to hunt him down is just a waste of time. Whoosh. Goku's figure disappeared from the spot. On a mountain trail, a jeep was driving quickly. Really? What's going on with that Son Goku? Number 16. Do you have information about him in your database? Driving the car on the 17th. He raised his hand and tapped his temple, saying somewhat speechlessly, "That guy Dr. Gallo updated the data for us a year ago. Maybe he can't keep up with the version. TSK. Not really, no." 16 squeezed into the back seat alone, almost occupying 3 seats, and replied honestly, "Son Goku's strength has always been a mystery. Even in my data, there has never been detailed data on his strength. In other words, we were transformed without knowing whether we could deal with him from the beginning. Maybe that's the case, huh?" Hearing No 18's words, number 17 chuckled. No 16 was silent for a moment and then said, "You can say that, but according to my energy detection results, it should be 100% impossible to win, so it's not completely unknown." No. 17. Number 18. Thank you for telling me this fact. I don't want to face reality at all. UB asterisk 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 D. No 18 glanced at number 17 beside him, but instead of panicking, he asked directly, "What should I do? Since we can't beat him, of course we have to escape. We finally got rid of Gallo's control with great difficulty. We can't just die without enjoying ourselves. As for Gallo's mission, he himself died." Number 17 said nonchalantly "This is the best choice. I don't like fighting either." No. 16 seconded this. Although they are artificial humans, the 3 of them think very clearly. After a moment, number 17 frowned again. "I just don't know if Son Goku will let go of potential threats like us. This is a problem. He won't." Number 18 raised his hand and pinched a string of pearls around his neck and said casually, "As long as we don't kill people or destroy the earth casually, that guy won't attack us." "How do you know?" Number 17 was a little surprised. No 18 raised his finger and pointed at his temple. "Is there no information in your database? That guy Son Goku has saved the earth more than once. Is that so?" No. 17 was a little unconvinced. Although it sounded reasonable, as a sibling, he really understood No 18's temper so well that he could detect even the slightest difference in tone point. But before he could test it, suddenly, a burst of energy fell from the sky, directly destroying the mountain road in front of them. Boom. Hiss. The jeep stopped. In the eyes of the 3 of them, Shalu stepped out of the dust of the explosion and stared greedily at number 17 and number 18. Found you. Chapter 121 Gohan's Amazing Potential. At the Celestial Temple, Goku was the last to arrive. After arriving, he learned that Vegeta could not wait to run into the spiritual time room to practice with Trunks. This was not beyond his expectation. A group of people were waiting boredly on the Celestial Temple. Yamcha had already left, knowing that entering the spiritual time room would be a waste of time. But I don't know why he stayed. Hey, Yamcha, why are you giggling all the time? Klin, who was in a daze, looked at Yamcha, who suddenly giggled with disgust and stayed away from him. As a result, Yamcha turned his head, looked at Violet, who was leaning against the pillar of the Temple of Heaven not far away, and whispered with a lewd expression, "Klin, do you think Miss Violet is more beautiful? Look at your potential." Klin was further away from him, but he still looked up and found that Violet was indeed very beautiful. He lowered his head honestly, his face turned red, and Yamcha immediately came over. "That's right. Stupid. What are you talking about? You saying I'm beautiful?" At this moment, Violet appeared in front of the 2 of them like a ghost. The 2 of them jumped up with fright and hurriedly waved their hands. No, absolutely not. We are here talking about the pillars of the Temple of Heaven. No, wrong. Yamcha. Yes. Pillar. Yeah. After hearing this, Violet turned and walked away, then stopped and looked back. What a pity. I originally planned to find a boyfriend to go on a date with, then. He blinked, leaving the two of them with an infinite imagination of their backs. Well, Yamcha and Clint's faces turned red. They looked at each other and then walked to the corner with their arms around each other. Clint, I'm 30 years old and I don't have a girlfriend yet. Good brother, don't. Come here. Paul said you just broke up with your girlfriend last week, and that time half a year ago. Clint, Yamcha, Saiyan. Fan looked at the two people who were directly pinching each other. He didn't know how to react for a moment and froze on the spot. To be honest, Violet is indeed very beautiful, with delicate facial features and snow white skin, especially those long and narrow eyes. Her every frown and smile bring a sense of charm. Her body proportions are excellent, and she has a pair of long legs. Can't blame Yamcha and Krillin for starting a fight. Goku used gravity control to accompany Gohan in his training. Gohan struggled to resist the gravity that far exceeded his limit. To the people around him, Gohan seemed to be toddling. Only Piccolo stood aside with a sullen face and his hands folded. But, Gohan, it's just a little bit close. Goku stood in front and encouraged. At this time, Gohan not only has to resist gravity, but also cannot transform into a Super Saiyan. He has to do his best every step of the way, and the pain he endures is unimaginable to ordinary people, but this is a necessary process to stimulate his potential. After so long and 3 years of training, Goku has already taught Gohan from the inside out. Even from the beginning. It is not an exaggeration to say that Gohan has walked through the entire path he has walked. After such a long period of accumulation, the potential is already overflowing. Now Gohan only needs a suitable guidance to completely explode. Click. Taking one step forward, cracks appeared on the ground of the celestial temple under his feet. Veins popped up all over Gohan's body, and his muscles swelled a bit. He raised his head and looked at Goku in front of him. He struggled to take another step, and this time, the cracks were a little bigger. Goku. Piccolo couldn't stand it. His 5 senses are extremely sharp, and he can feel that every time Gohan takes a step, gravity will become more terrifying. This kind of gravity can cause serious injury in an instant, even if he is not careful. But Goku is constantly superimposing, constantly breaking through Gohan's limits. Even with his teachings, he never let Gohan take such a risky attempt. He always insisted on stopping, but it seemed a little ruthless. Goku was unmoved and continued to encourage Gohan, come on, just walk up to me, you can do it, Dad. His breathing was a little heavy, and Gohan's vision was a little blurry, but after hearing Goku's words, he still took the next step forward. Click. Boom. This time, the Temple of Heaven seemed to tremble slightly. This is not the result of relying on explosive energy to increase strength, but the effect of just stepping on it with weight. In an instant, everyone's eyes focused on Gohan. Gohan took another step immediately. Piccolo was already very nervous, but he didn't dare to disturb him. The celestial temple trembled again. Every next step was difficult, and the Temple of Heaven seemed to sink a little. The gods inside had already appeared in fear, and they were extremely frightened. What? Is that brat? No. The foundation of the temple is unstable. Damn it. Who took away the pillars again? Withstand. Boom. Drink. When he was only 5 steps away from Goku, Gohan exploded, but he still remembered Goku's words at this time, and still did not transform into a Super Saiyan, but chose to explode. White flames erupted from his body, then expanded directly, and spread to 10 meters away. Gohan's whole body was like a wick, but it ignited a huge flame that covered the sky and the sun. Everywhere you look, there is that huge energy. What's even more terrifying is that even if his anger reaches this level, Gohan can still maintain it, seemingly endlessly. Boom. The Temple of Heaven seemed to have sunk half a point. Gohan took the last few steps and finally came to Goku, only 2 steps away. His eyes were already blurry, but with the explosion of huge potential, Gohan's golden arrogance flashed, and he took another step. Then the arrogance dissipated, and he fainted past. Goku crouched down slightly to catch Gohan. Piccolo's stiff body was able to move, and he hurried forward to check the situation. But at this time, Goku had already fed a fairy bean to Gohan, which made him recover. In order to help Gohan channel the potential in his body, Goku just used his mind power to restrict Piccolo's movements. Otherwise he would definitely stop him. It sounds like he is a bit cruel as a father, but Goku believes that Gohan can do it. Facts have proved that Gohan did it. The combat power jumped from 40 million to 900 million, 22.5x potential. This is Gohan's potential, or potential, which has exceeded Goku's expectations. Others also gathered over at this time, and Gohan gradually woke up. Dad, Uncle Piccolo, Gohan. Piccolo breathed a sigh of relief. Gohan, you did a good job. Let's go back to mom to make a big meal after a while, Goku said with a smile. Gohan recovered. This method was discovered by Goku after a long time of trying to gradually release his potential. In fact, the principle is the same as near-death resurrection, but it requires extremely strong perseverance to push yourself to the limit and then exceed the limit. Goku has used this method to release his potential once, so he knows in fact, the Saiyan's passive is not triggered after dying, but is triggered before dying. So, as long as you can feel the oppression of death, your potential can naturally be released. But with the existence of Senzu, it is more direct and efficient for Goku to seriously injure him. Gohan stood up and looked at Goku with some confusion. Dad, don't we need to go to the spiritual time room to practice? Goku nodded. Well, your training is over. Really? Gohan blinked and looked at Goku uncertainly. Goku looked at Gohan, who was still a little confused, suddenly smiled, raised his hand and patted him on the shoulder, and said, of course, how could Dad lie to you? You can try to release your power, of course. It's better to be a little restrained, huh? Gohan raised his head and blinked. At this time, he didn't realize that his potential had been released, but he felt a lot more relaxed. An unprecedented emotion emerged from his heart, and it seemed that everything around him was different. Chapter 122. The Whetstone. The Temple of Heaven is located above the clouds, with a breeze blowing, and the clouds flowing slowly. Call out. A figure flew towards the heavenly temple. Halfway through the flight, Bulma saw the sleeping cat Immortal and said, hello, cat. Immortal, long time no see. Oh, Bulma, who is this kid? Xiaomi, it belongs to me and Goku. Before he finished speaking, time seemed to freeze suddenly. Bulma was stunned on the spot, holding Xiaomi, while the cat Immortal did the same, looking up with difficulty. At this moment, everything around seemed to have lost its color. Everything between heaven and earth turned into black and white, and the cat Immortal shed a cold sweat. No, it can't be. At the same time, thousands of miles away, Salulo had just absorbed number 17, completed an evolution, and almost destroyed number 16. Boom. Terrible energy rose into the sky. After completing an evolution, Sheru's insect characteristics decreased, and he became more like a human. His body also tended to walk more upright. Especially the face, from the previous monster, has become very similar to that of a human being. With his aura soaring, Shalu couldn't help but close his eyes and feel the powerful power after his evolution, and he was intoxicated by it. Great, as long as this power goes one step further, it will definitely kill that guy Son Goku. Next is, no, 18, run away. Number 16 has been seriously injured. The mechanical body has been beaten to pieces, and half of his head is left, but he still reminds number 18. At this time, number 18 saw number 17 being swallowed up with his own eyes. He was already a little panicked, and turned around and flew away. Want to run. Shalu was about to catch up when he saw this, but in an instant, he suddenly felt something, and he was slightly startled and stopped. He raised his head and looked into the distance, which was the direction of the Temple of Heaven, and a drop of cold sweat flowed down his face. Gilu, what on earth is this energy? Because of this moment of hesitation, number 18 had already escaped. On the Celestial Temple, Vegeta and Trunks, who had just walked out of the spiritual time room, were also stunned on the spot. About half a minute ago, Vegeta had a look of confidence on his face, unprecedented confidence. He felt as if he had regained the pride of a Saiyan prince, and everything comes from his strength. Unprecedented strength. Vegeta once again has the feeling of surpassing Goku, and the arrogance of the Saiyan seems to have reached its peak. Now he doesn't look down on anyone. However, everything began to be shattered instantly the moment he stepped out of the spiritual time room. What on earth is this energy? How is it possible? Vegeta's practice is not without effect. At least he can already feel the difference. The moment Gohan's energy exploded, the entire celestial temple was trembling. The terrifying energy radiated directly to the entire surface of the earth, and the clouds within 1,000 miles of the celestial temple were pushed away. Seen from the universe, it looks like a wave of water is constantly rippling, covering one side of the earth. Drink, boo. Hoo-hoo. Golden aura enveloped the whole body, and waves of aura spread from Gohan's feet one after another. The blonde man had blue eyes, and his aura was unprecedentedly powerful, but not much power leaked out. The body only expanded a little, not excessively. It's Super Saiyan full power. After a long time, Gohan's explosion ended. Although it did not reach the limit, his combat power had risen to over 40 billion. Piccolo was sweating, looking at the unfamiliar Gohan in front of him in disbelief, not to mention the reactions of others. Satoru, Gohan? Is this really Gohan? It should be. Okay, so awesome. I'm afraid this one has surpassed Goku, right? Klin. And others were so shocked that they didn't know what to say. Goku didn't react at all. He looked at Gohan with a smile as he looked at his hands, as if he finally realized how powerful he was. The golden aura dissipated, but the hair did not change back, and remained golden. Bang. Goku raised his hand and patted Gohan's head, rubbed it, and said, Gohan, remember what I taught you, right? The next step is to fully master this power, and use it freely. If you can't control it, it's not your power. Then the spiritual time room is really no longer needed? Gohan said, still a little confused. Goku smiled when he heard this, shook his head, and corrected himself. If you go inside, you will waste a lot of time with your family. Gohan, you just need to live and practice at your current pace. Everything has a father. Gohan looked up at Goku. I don't know when it started, maybe it was like this from the beginning. In Gohan's eyes, Goku never let him down and always protected him. So Gohan subconsciously chose trust at this moment, nodded, his eyes were very bright. Yeah, we heard that Xiaomi is jealous. Bulma, why are you here too? Bulma's sudden appearance startled the others. Goku turned around and smiled, and saw Xiaomi flying towards him. He raised his hand to catch it, and put the little girl on his shoulder, letting her play with his hair. He looked at Bulma and smiled. Why are you here? Humph, what? I can't come? Bulma rolled her eyes at him, leaving Goku dumbfounded. This is jealousy, but what kind of jealousy are you feeling? Bulma then took out a button-like remote control. Violet subconsciously walked away. After seeing it, Bulma explained, this is the limiter I found from Dr. Gallo's research institute, and then re-researched it. It should be possible to restrain those two artificial humans, but it seems like you shouldn't use it. Really? If you have something like this, Bulma, you should have taken it out earlier, so that they wouldn't run away. After Clint complained, Bulma glanced at him, and waved his hand angrily. HMPH, Gallo's androids are still very powerful. I'm studying how to upgrade Violet. Me. Violet was a little surprised, and then looked at Bulma suspiciously. She didn't think Bulma would be so kind. He had threatened her with that limiter several times, although the two of them occasionally went shopping together. Call out. At this moment, a figure flew directly down from the Temple of Heaven. Vegeta glanced at Goku and Gohan before leaving. The unwillingness in his eyes was very obvious. Really, what did that guy do? He came out without saying hello, as if someone owed him money. There were all martial arts masters present, and they basically saw Vegeta's reaction. Trunks walked over, bowed slightly to everyone and said, I'm very sorry, Mr. Son Goku. Everyone, I'm not worried, so I'm going over. Call out. After that, Trunks also flew down from the celestial temple. The attitudes of father and son formed a sharp contrast. The scene calmed down for a while, and when other people looked over, Goku smiled and threw the limiter to Krillin. Although there seemed to be no chance, he had no interest in number 18. Whether he could seize the opportunity depends on Krillin himself. Goku, why are you giving me this? Krillin was confused, and Goku didn't bother to explain. Looking at the others, he immediately said to Piccolo, we won't go to the spiritual time room. I'm very interested in Cell's final form. Piccolo, everyone, come on, I think you may have a lot of fun this time. The earth will not be destroyed. The last sentence is actually a shot in the arm for everyone, and it is also a source of confidence point if possible. He even hopes that Cell will be stronger so that he can contribute more potential points, and at the same time, it can also be used by Gohan to adapt to strength as soon as possible. It is simply the best whetstone. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 123 Thought Cultivation. Whoosh. Goku, Gohan, Bulma and Xiaomi left the Celestial Temple, leaving only everyone behind. Krillin put his hands behind his head and looked very relaxed, but he still complained. That guy Goku really said it so relaxedly that I didn't feel nervous at all. That's true, but is this a good thing? Since Goku has confidence and Gohan has become so strong, there must be no problem. Everyone, I won't go to the spiritual time house to practice. I plan to go back to find dumplings. If I have the chance later, I may go to watch the final battle. Say goodbye, Saiyan. Meal left directly. The remaining people at the scene were even more silent. After a long time, Piccolo walked towards the spiritual time room. He planned to practice alone, but at this time, the god followed Piccolo and walked in. The two seemed to have reached a tacit understanding. Violet felt that it was boring, so she crossed her hands and was about to leave. At this time, Yamcha came up with a blushing face. Well, I'm actually free for that. Do you want to go on a date together? Seeing this, Kling gritted his teeth. What a B*********************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************** quickly ran away. Hiss, boo as a result, Violet turned to look at him and said directly, "I don't want to date now, and besides." She turned around, leaving only her back, and continued, "Neither you nor that little bald guy is what I like type. It killed the hope of both of them in one go. Oh, then it's okay. Ha 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 ha." Yamcha's awkward hands and feet had nowhere to place, and then his whole person turned gloomy. Clin came over and patted him, secretly glad that it wasn't me who told him directly. Bobo, is there any difference in the treatment between you two? Boom, bang. Bang bang bang. Vegeta and his son found Cell, and when they faced Cell in the second stage, there should have been no surprise, but as expected, there was an accident. Vegeta is the same as in the original work, even though he was shocked by Gohan, he still swelled. After ravaging Cell in the second stage, I felt unsatisfied. I heard that Cell had a stronger form, so I decided to let Cell evolve immediately. Trunks stopped him, and as a result, a wave of father is kind and son is filial was staged. Vegeta was knocked away by Trunks, and then he was enraged and started fighting directly. This also gave Cell a chance to successfully find and absorb number 18, complete his evolution, and the complete Cell was born. The strength of the complete Cell has far exceeded that of Vegeta and Trunks in the second stage of Saiyan. As expected, the father and son were humiliated by Cell. Vegeta's mentality didn't explode. To be precise, Trunks knocked him out. After waking up, although Vegeta was angry, he was still calm and did not collapse like when he faced Frieza or Broly. Instead, he returned to the Temple of Heaven and started a new practice. And Cell seems to have triggered the passive arrogance of the Saiyans after their combat power surges. He went directly to the TV station to broadcast to the whole world that he was going to hold a martial arts conference and declared war on all the martial arts masters on the earth. The purpose was self-evident: to plunge the entire earth into despair. This was Dr. Gallo's original intention in creating him. Baozi Mountain, Goku's house. Dang dang dang. My compatriots, we must believe in hope. There will definitely be a hero who can defeat Cell, just like the heroic boy who defeated Piccolo de Mayo. While Goku was eating, he looked up at the TV. After Cell's speech, he urgently conducted a global live broadcast to appease the turbulent king. At this moment, Cell is just like a replica of Vegeta, riding the waves with the wind. But that sentence is correct. If things go smoothly, are they still Saiyans? It can only be said that this cannot be entirely blamed on Vegeta. It is something ingrained in the genes of the Saiyans. Goku actually doesn't think there's anything wrong with Vegeta's wave. What's wrong with Vegeta is that he just waved when he wasn't strong enough. He improved and waved again, and then got beaten again. This cycle just doesn't last long. Ugh, Dad. Gohan's somewhat aggrieved voice came. Goku looked over and saw that Xiaomi was competing with Gohan for the last chicken drumstick. This little girl was very strong. Seeing that she couldn't compete with him quickly, she pounced on him and bit him on Gohan's hand. Oh, Xiaomi, Bulma hurriedly opened it, and Shishi also came out of the kitchen with a plate of freshly baked dishes. After finishing the meal in a hurry, Goku took the family for an outing. It's rare to get together. Usually Xiaomi and Bulma are not in Baozi Mountain. Although they get together every now and then to eat or something, they don't have many opportunities to go out together. Whoosh, the flying car galloped on the mountain road of Baozi Mountain, crossed a path, and came to a stream, surrounded by green trees and a very good environment. Bulma drove, while Goku, Gohan and Xiaomi sat in the backseat and fell asleep. Really? Why do you sleep after eating enough? Goku, it's okay Shishi, let them sleep and get there soon. Finally, we came to a lake. After arriving, Shishi started to prepare some food for a while. Bulma helped, while Goku took the two children to the lake to fish. Hooray. As a result, Gohan was lucky and caught a big fish. Upon seeing this, Xiaomi jumped directly into the lake, shocking Bulma. Boom. As a result, Xiaomi took a sip of water and exploded. The explosion directly blew up a large area of the lake, and a moment later it started to rain like fish. Goku hugged the wet millet and walked back with Gohan, dragging two large fish weighing hundreds of kilograms. Let's eat grilled fish today. Grilled fish? Really? There's nothing we can do against you. Shaking his head, the other ingredients were all wet, and he could only salvage some, but fortunately the grilled fish tasted good too. The duration of Cell's game is 10 days, and Goku is very relaxed during these 10 days. In the past, he used to give Gohan a fixed training every day, but now there is no more, because Gohan's strength has increased too much, and a smooth transition period is needed. Adapt. Only then can we practice further, so Goku was not in a hurry at all. After Piccolo came back, Goku asked him to help Gohan with some mind training. Piccolo didn't ask why. Anyway, Gohan just wanted to learn from him. Thoughts are very important. Before Frieza, Goku's ability to control ki was actually not as good as Piccolo's. Even now it is only on par with Piccolo. Piccolo's practice method is also very special. He specializes in meditation practice to improve his mind. But what Goku didn't expect was another thing. That is, Xiaomi was particularly enthusiastic about martial arts. When she saw them practicing, she came over to join in the fun. She didn't understand what the idea was. When she saw a few people ignoring her, she started to make trouble. Goku couldn't help it. I can only play with her. The little girl sat in Goku's arms and stretched out her hands to demonstrate the turtle style kicking. Turtle style ki gong boom. The mountain peak in the distance was directly shattered by a blue energy. Goku blinked and looked at the little girl, who turned her head to look at him with joy. He smiled helplessly and said, "You are much more naughty than Gohan when he was a child, and you can't be so casual. Do you know that you are using your energy indiscriminately?" The little girl's cheeks puffed up, and she stared at him angrily. Okay, you did a great job. You are worthy of being my daughter. Let's make the grilled fish you like for dinner. Quack. The little girl became happy and flew up and circled next to him. Dad. Gohan came over at this time. Chapter 124. The savior appears. Rice. Xiaomi flew over. Gohan caught her with a headache and corrected, "You have to call me brother." Meal. Xiaomi stared with a pair of big eyes, looking innocent. Gohan had no choice but to let her scream like this. "Forget it. Just don't bite me, Dad. The practice of mindfulness is over." Gohan walked up to Goku and hesitated to speak. Goku smiled when he saw this and asked, "Do you feel that mind training is a bit boring?" Gohan already gained confidence and knew that Goku would not blame him, so he nodded. "One thing, Dad, have you also practiced mind training?" Gohan blinked, a little confused. Are you? He had the impression that Goku had never practiced mind training. It was all Piccolo who did it. The Saiyan's training method was more inclined to actual combat, and he had always done so. Goku raised a hand, and an arc of electricity suddenly flashed across his palm. A terrifying aura made Gohan's eyes widen. He rarely felt a ki from Goku that made him tremble, because Goku would restrain himself most of the time. Now Gohan even felt that he had caught up with Goku, but he just didn't say it out loud. But it wasn't until this moment that he realized that he seemed to be still a long way from his father. Goku smiled and continued to explain to him. Full power is already the limit of a Saiyan, so do you know what is needed if you want to go further? Gohan shook his head in confusion and said tentatively, stronger energy. The transformation of a Saiyan is basically explosive energy. It is true that stronger energy can be improved, but it is better to improve it. But what I'm talking about is the intensity of transformation. The electricity in Goku's palm gradually became restless, and some gravel and weeds gradually floated around his body. The terrifying energy seemed to be out of control and became extremely violent. Goku's expression also became a little cold and hard, and his hair exploded. But there was no become a Super Saiyan. But according to Gohan's perception, Goku's energy at this moment has clearly surpassed that of a Super Saiyan. At least it was beyond the Super Saiyan transformation he knew. The terrifying aura even made him feel a little trembling, and a fighting spirit. Xiaomi's eyes shone, not affected at all. Goku released this state, and the amazing scene around him returned to normal. He explained with a smile, the transformation of Super Saiyan is a fighting method unique to us Saiyans. As long as it reaches a certain point, the intensity of transformation can naturally be increased. I call it Super Saiyan 2. Gohan, your goal in the next stage is this, but you don't have to worry. You have to learn to calm down. Whether it is fighting or training, you must learn to be calm. As long as you complete with Piccolo's mind training, it's not difficult for you to reach this point. Yes, I understand, Dad. Gohan nodded seriously and silently wrote down Goku's instructions in the past 2 years. Goku has given him not only training in combat, but also in ki. In fact, even without Goku's demonstration, as long as he keeps practicing, he can reach the Super Saiyan stage on his own within a year or two at most. After all, it was Goku and Piccolo who taught him step by step, and Goku also strengthened his foundation. It would be unreasonable to turn into the Gohan who has lost his inheritance in the future. Okay, let's go home and eat. Rice. 10 days passed in a blink of an eye, and Goku and others went to the scene of Cell Game. Shalu has also been waiting here for a long time. There is a huge ring made of granite directly stacked and cut, with 4 pillars standing all around, showing its majesty. Whoosh. Whoosh. Hi, Goku, you're here, Klin. He greeted. Saiyan rice, Yamcha, and dumplings also appeared in the team one after another, flying towards the destination. Goku, you must be sure, right? I believe you. On the way, Yamcha said weakly. Goku was stunned when he saw this, and then nodded with a smile. Even Xiaomi next to Gohan looked at him with contempt. But this also made Klin and Saiyan fan breathe a sigh of relief. Tuck. Just when everyone arrived at their destination and landed, the sound of a helicopter suddenly sounded in the sky. Looking up, I saw a fancy guy and a big man jumping down from more than 10 meters in one leap, and then there was the heavyweight character, the savior, who was so obsessed with Satan. To be honest, it was a bit novel for Goku to see Satan wandering wildly on the verge of death at close range. On the contrary, I didn't feel impatient or embarrassed. Anyway, just don't bring it in, I said. If you don't want to die, you better leave here now. Who are you, little bald man? Do you know who you are talking to? This is Mr. Satan. That's right, he rejected Klin's kind words and even made sarcastic remarks, which made Klin blush. These guys, they are so annoying. Hahaha, Klin, don't worry about it. Let them get better first. Yamcha didn't mind watching the excitement. As a result, in the eyes of Satan and others, he just gave up. and posed for the camera. All kinds of propaganda that seemed very intellectual and nonsensical point. But don't tell me, most ordinary people on earth really do this. If there is a scoreboard, then Satan's popularity must be quite terrifying at this moment, and it must be more than Kame Sennin or the King of Earth anyway. However, at this moment, Satan's eyes couldn't help but glance towards Goku and others. It's over. It's completely over. Satan seemed to have another collapsed self in his heart, and his nose was dripping with tears. He thought he was just a monster that appeared out of nowhere and could make a name for himself. After years of hard work and a lot of publicity, he has already gained some fame. He has also climbed the Kalan Tower. He does have some strength, but because of this, he is very clear about himself and the true martial arts. How big the gap is between families under the torture of the cat immortal. He was unable to learn the air dance technique for several years, and his improvement in strength could only be described as a tortoise. It's not that he has no talent, but that his opportunism has been engraved in his bones. He is an actor through and through. If he wants to make him practice like a real martial artist for 10 years, it is better to kill him. In the end, he escaped from the clutches of the cat immortal, and then began his own journey of creating gods already famous. He thought that, as long as he could get rid of Cell, he could become a hero who saves the world. However, he panicked when he found out that Goku and others were already to arrive here. No, he must be confused. It was also at this time that I realized that the monster Cell was not just a talk, but actually had the ability to destroy the world. Mr. Satan, Satan. Recovered from his stupor, his mind turned quickly. He immediately coughed, pointed at Goku and others in the distance and said, I suddenly felt that we should give young people a chance. Since they have confidence, let them first. It's ready, as expected of Mr. Satan. The blonde host is a gold medal host hired by Satan. Whether it is his clothes or his commentary, he is extremely eye-catching. She is indispensable for Satan's current fame. But when several people looked at Goku and others, no one moved. Goku doesn't mind starting a fight with Cell, and he doesn't care about fame. If he wants it, the King of Earth will have to help him, but he's just not interested in playing along with Satan. And obviously, even Vegeta was not interested in being a fool at this time. The atmosphere was a little stiff, and at the same time, Satan's brain was also frozen, constantly begging for help with his eyes and every cell. Please, take action quickly. I don't want to die. Chapter 125 The Resurrected Shalu. But, at this time, Shalu was already a little impatient. He slowly raised his hand and focused a burst of energy in his palm, aiming at Satan and the others. Goku raised his eyebrows, knowing that there was no chance, so he took a step forward and walked onto the ring. As a result, Satan, who is indeed a born actor, actually climbed up to the ring and shouted to attract attention, Young man, you are really impatient. I'm planning to get rid of Sheru at once. Okay, in that case, I'll let you show off. Ha 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 ha. Goku, okay, this is how you play, right? Pretending not to see Satan's eyes, Goku pushed him directly with his telekinesis, causing Satan to rush towards Cell. Come on, Master. Mr. Satan will win. The publicity team brought by Satan had a no asterisk. They watched Satan pounce on Shalu, but they didn't notice Satan's face with tears and runny nose. In fact, Satan still has something. Well, just a little, no more. The speed and angle of his elbow and kick when he rushed towards Shalu were alright. It was the way of martial artist. Unfortunately, the difference was not that big. Snort. Cell was already impatient and raised his hand to slap Satan away, but what he didn't expect was that Satan avoided his attack at an incredible angle, which made Cell's pupils shrink. Immediately afterwards, Satan also hurriedly backed away with a look of panic and disaster, but immediately entered the actor's state, put his hands on his hips. Come on, Shalu. Let me, Satan, kick your asterisk. Ha 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 ha. Mr. Satan is great. Okay. Come on. Piccolo and others could see clearly that it was impossible for Satan to avoid that angle. Vegeta snorted coldly and glanced at Goku's back. Boring. Satan seemed to have found his confidence and rushed towards Sheru again. He even slowed down the movement of his extremely exaggerated punch to let the camera capture it. hitting Cherish's body point bang. Shadow looked at him with very cold eyes and slapped him away point whoosh. Satan seemed to be floating out of thin air, miraculously dodging again, and then kicked Shadow in the face with a magical kick. Enough. Cell was angry. Veins popped up on his face. He spread his wings behind him and blasted Satan away with a burst of air. He looked at Goku and said, "Son Goku, don't waste time, come on, I've been looking forward to it for a long time." Spreading his hands, Goku still didn't look nervous at all. Point to this day, Cherish has been regarded by him as a whetstone, not an opponent. Point Goku put on the Kame Senryu posture, slightly raised the corners of his mouth, lightning appeared in front of his dark eyes, and then turned green, and his hair turned yellow. His arrogance skyrocketed, and he said, "Let's fight quickly. I hope you can reserve some strength to fight Gohan." "So this one may disappoint you." "What did you say?" Shalu was completely angry. Point the embarrassing scene of being chased by Goku before emerged. It was a shame that Cell had never felt before. What Vegeta had left to him had been given back by him. Point. But at this moment Goku's words undoubtedly made him completely furious. Boom. A key soared into the sky and turned into terrifying airwaves sweeping across like a hurricane roaring, and the earth roaring. Cell was surrounded by golden aura, and violent air currents swept around him. He stared at Goku with a sneer and said in a deep voice, "Son Goku, you are totally wrong. If you think I'm still as strong as before, I will let you know what is true. The strength gap. I will return this sentence to you intact." The corner of Goku's mouth curled up, and lightning began to surround the surroundings more and more densely. The gravel gradually floated, and the sky was filled with lightning and thunder, and it was dark. What is the real difference in strength? Boom. Boom. 2 bolts of lightning fell, and the next moment, starting from Goku's feet, the entire world seemed to lose its color in an instant, with only a golden light reaching the sky. Now, everyone present was shocked, and Vegeta was so shocked that he lost his voice. Point at this moment, the Realm Kings far away in the underworld were stunned on the spot, too excited to speak. Point on a universe spacecraft approaching the Earth. All the energy detectors exploded instantly, sending out thick smoke. Point the golden flames are mixed with lightning, boiling like crazy. In the ring, Goku's expression became more cold and serious than ever before, as if he was a different person. "Gohan, look carefully, this is Super Saiyan 2. After saying to Gohan, Goku's eyes were always locked on Cell, who had changed his face in horror and disappeared in an instant. Point boom. Pooha. With one blow, Cell staggered back, but it wasn't over yet. Goku's figure suddenly appeared behind Cell, and with another powerful and heavy hand knife, Cell was hit to the point where his feet collapsed, and he knelt down. Goku knew very well that Cell had Piccolo's cells, so even if his limbs were missing, it would not be considered a serious injury. More importantly, the system had not prompted him yet. He directly grabbed Cell and threw him high into the air. Whoosh. The next moment, he ducked to follow Cheru and appeared behind him. Ceru held onto his consciousness, turned around and swung the knife, but it only hit the afterimage. Then he felt a huge force coming from behind him. His internal organs were overturned, and a mouthful of viscous liquid spurted out. Bang. With another heavy punch, Cell's energy began to plummet. Goku raised his eyebrows slightly. Was he about to be beaten back to his original shape? Sure enough, the next moment Cell vomited out Android 18 and degenerated to the second stage. Goku frowned a little. Although he still retained tens of billions of combat power, Cell at this moment was obviously not up to the level of training for Gohan. The effect is gone. Somewhat disappointed, Goku used telekinesis to catch number 18 and considered whether to let Cell evolve again or force him to see if he could directly force the ultimate evolution point. Before he could think about it, Cheru vomited again. This time it was number 17. Cheru did not degrade again, but his strength was still reduced, and it had dropped below the tens of billions level. At this point, Vegeta is probably able to completely torture him. Goku shook his head, looked at Cell, threw a fairy bean to him, then raised his hand and said, "Eat it, you." Cell was completely panicked at this time. He couldn't think about it so much, and ate the celestial beans. The moment he chewed up the celestial beans and swallowed them, Goku directly sent a wave to destroy his body. Cell, with only his head left, fell to the ground as if dead. Ding. Defeat the complete Seru and get the potential value +3. This is murder. Satan's publicity team is all talented people, and they were so frightened when they saw Shalu's insect-shaped head. Goku returned to the crowd, and number 16 followed him. He only had one head left, which was repaired by Dr. Brive, erasing the mission of killing Goku. At this time, he stepped forward to catch No 17 and 18. What the hell? This guy Celu isn't very good either. It's Goku who is so powerful. He snort. Everyone had different reactions. Goku walked up to Gohan, picked up the millet on his head, patted Gohan on the shoulder and said, "I'll leave the rest to you. He should be even more powerful after he is resurrected." Gohan nodded seriously and walked directly to the ring point. Others didn't know why, but Piccolo and Vegeta still noticed the clues and looked towards the field with slightly changed expressions. Boom. A powerful energy burst out and revived. Sheru stood up again, and with a terrifying aura, he was resurrected again, and this time, there was faint lightning all over Shalu's body, and his aura was even more terrifying. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.